transportation.
The Wyoming way of life. There's nothing like it, and no financial partner like your local cooperative credit union to help you live life the way you want to. We help you save for a brighter future, borrow for your dream home, start your small business. We've got your finances, and you've got plans. So go ahead, pitch a tent, head for the rodeo, reel in a big trout, fire up the smoker. Wyoming's credit unions are here to stay and here for you.
Cowboy State Daily News continues now. Wyoming issued a new pro rodeo license plate on Friday in response to PETA asking for a plate without the iconic bucking bronco, claiming that rodeo is cruel. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland reports that one state legislator says PETA's request made him want to celebrate rodeo even more prominently.
PETA in the summer of 2024 wanted to confront a Wyoming law that says that the bucking horse and rider needs to be on all of our license plates. And they were like, let's change this law so that people have options that don't include what they called cruelty to animals. And in response, Senator Brian Boner and some others actually went the other direction and created a specialty plate with a more vivid image of the iconic steamboat saddle bronc being ridden, and a portion of the proceeds from those plates are to go to support rodeo programs in colleges throughout the state.
WYDOT unveiled the plate last Wednesday alongside another specialty plate to promote search and rescue programs. When Leonard Nimoy flew to Yellowstone in August 1978 to shoot a scene from Star Trek the Motion Picture, Mammoth Hot Springs hotel worker Eric Austinson got the job of being Spock's chauffeur. Cowboy State Daily's Andrew Rossi reports that Austinson recalls it being a surreal experience.
Eric was working behind Mammoth Hot Springs Hotel, just a fresh out of college kid, nothing better to do. But then when he drove up to pick up the Paramount crew in a rental car, and then Mr. Spock, in full Mr. Spock getup, jumped into the back of his car, Eric likes to say that he got to take Mr. Spock to work one day.
When the Star Trek television series got the green light for a full-length motion picture, creator Gene Roddenberry and the production team wanted to make a big impression with an on-location shoot, and they quickly realized that no place on Earth seems like it should be on another planet more than Yellowstone National Park. And that's today's news. Get your free digital subscription to Wyoming's only statewide newspaper by hitting that daily newsletter button at cowboystatedaily.com. I'm Mac Watson for Cowboy State Daily.
Love is a lesson that doesn't end. It knows no conditions, so you better buckle in. Love keeps you on your toes. It never stops, only grows. Love isn't easy. It's a commitment, especially when they're being their most resistant. Love is being prepared for the journey ahead. Love doesn't let any concerns go unsaid. Love is finding the right seat so you can take a breath. But remember, love isn't lax. It always double checks. Check that your kids are in the right seat at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Love protects.
Cowboy State Daily Show with Jake on a Monday. It's Monday, right? It's got to be Monday because I got all kinds of internet problems. I have Monday morning problems. Yeah, I'm working them out. We're working them out. Sorry if you notice your broadcast disrupted on Facebook, YouTube, at the homepage. Yeah. We got our brightest minds on it. We'll fix it. Internet, what are you going to do? We're just slaves to technology. And when tech doesn't work, I don't know. Well, let's get right to this story. Man, I hate this. Hate this story, but hating it isn't going to make it go away. Zach Sontag has the story. We go to Lyman, Wyoming. Justin Bradshaw was headed to work back on December 16th in Lyman when he got a phone call from his 20-year-old daughter, Macy. It was the last time he would ever talk to Macy. She said, "Can you come over here? My ex-boyfriend is here again, and it's not going well." Justin Bradshaw knew the ex to be problematic, maybe violent. He was seeing his daughter Macy, and the dad had to step in, I think, more than once to try to end the relationship or give him the old dad boyfriend talk. So it was a phone call I'm sure he dreaded, but it was not a big surprise. Justin Bradshaw said she called at 11 o'clock. Is this morning? Or it had to be morning. She called at 11 o'clock. Macy said, "Dad, he's outside and I need you to scare him away." Well, Justin Bradshaw whipped his truck around, did a U-turn, and punched it. He was there at his daughter's apartment in less than 4 minutes, he estimated, but it wasn't quick enough. As he left the vehicle and was headed inside, he heard gunshots from inside. He said, "I reached down to open the door. I heard 2 gunshots go off back to back. I actually heard a body hit the floor. That was the body of the ex-boyfriend who shot Macy and then himself. By the time he charged in, the ex-boyfriend, James Hunter, was laying prostrate down on one side of the room, his daughter Macy on the other side of the room, each with bullet wounds to the head. Both were still alive at the time. Dad, of course, rushed to his daughter, who was lying on the bed. She was still alert, still awake, and she asked me to help her. She said, "Dad, I'm going to be sick. I'm going to throw up. I need to get on the floor." Dad dialed 911. First responders got there as fast as they could, but it was too late. Macy pronounced dead, ex-boyfriend pronounced dead, and this was a troubled relationship. And it just happens all too often. And just horrible to hear about. Macy Bradshaw, Lyman, Wyoming, and the 20-year-old who was killed, presumably by the ex-boyfriend. At least that's what law enforcement has pieced together in the aftermath. James Hunter, dad, self-inflicted gunshot wound, but not before he shot Macy Bradshaw. And Justin, the dad, if he was 1 minute quicker, would it have been different? Just a really tough story. Zach Sontag did a great job with it. Cowboy State Daily. But it did not end well. Really tough. I hate stuff like that. Well, for weeks or months, we've been talking about University of Wyoming and what they could do to compete in the world of sports. Football, basketball. What happened over the weekend? I think our boys lost. Our men's basketball team lost, I'm pretty sure. So did the girls. Cowgirls fell to the Aztecs 72-55 to open conference play for them. And the men, I think they also lost. Oh, man, the internet is just agonizingly slow. Lobos blitz Cowboys. Yeah. Second half was not a good one for Coach Sundance Wick's crew. He said he was blunt. He said after a sloppy win at Academy last Tuesday, the loss to the Lobos on that was over the weekend. Just too many turnovers. Sloppy second half was horrible. New Mexico went on a 10-0 run. Wyoming looked good early. And then New Mexico went on a run, and the second half just got out of hand. So both the men and women basketball teams lose. The men lost 78-58 to New Mexico, and the women lost as well, 72-55 to the Aztecs. But yeah, how does Wyoming compete given the new landscape, relatively new landscape of name, image, likeness, NIL money? Either UW has to commit more money and play the game, NIL, or an alternative could be bucking down to play D2 or D3 football and basketball. Similar to what University of Idaho did. The University of Idaho once Division I, and they downgraded. They did the same. The Vandals were at one time Division I, and then, as recent as University of Idaho won the famous Idaho Potato Bowl in 2016. They beat CSU in a very fun game. 2 years later, the Vandals were no longer in D1, in Division I. And could that be the answer for Wyoming Cowboys sports? A lot of people hate the idea that University of Wyoming would no longer be D1, would drop down. Some say maybe that's a reasonable solution to playing NIL. I mean, I don't know how much money you would have to commit to NIL to be competitive, but certainly more than UW does right now. Mark Hines' story about the guy who left his trail cams in a grizzly bear den, forgot all about him. Wildlife filmmaker Casey Anderson has stop motion cameras that he set up in Yellowstone 10 years ago, 2015. He set these cameras up in known grizzly bear dens. Typically, grizzly do not hibernate in a cave-like situation, but sometimes they will. They'll make use of whatever. And filmmaker Casey Anderson knew of a spot where he knew grizzlies had denned previously in previous winters. So he set up some cameras there. It was just north of Yellowstone National Park. And he forgot that he put the cameras there until just recently. Casey Anderson must be a very busy guy. That's what Mark Hines said. He's really busy. And 10 years later, he's like, oh, man, those motion-activated cameras I set up, I got to go check those out. Depending on the size of the SD card, which is capturing the data, and keeping in mind that these are motion-activated cameras, so it's not like they're constantly recording everything. They only record when they feel something moving around. So you could have a camera that's got 10 years worth of footage, and it only pops on when the grizz rolls over, sleeping all winter. So you'll see the grizzly bear come in, you'll see the grizzly bear leave, and presumably you'll see a grizzly rolling around while it's sleeping. And Anderson was kind of surprised when he went back 10 years later And sure enough, found a few winters worth of material. And we're sharing now. I'm looking at one Casey Anderson still frame from the video going back. I don't know where this is, back 2025. I don't know what year this is, but you see a little grizzly bear making his way in the den. But that's pretty cool that you can forget about your trail cam, come back 10 years later and see all kinds of evidence of activity. He's also got, looks like a wolf. No, that's probably a coyote or a fox. He's also got a mountain lion that had triggered the camera when it peeked its head into the grizzly den. He's got a lot of treasure to go back over and sift through and maybe edit down. I would love to see more of it. We see a bunch of still frame. Oh, here's the lost footage. There is a YouTube channel for Casey.
Oh my gosh, it turns on.
I'm surprised this stuff even worked 10 years later.
I'm Casey Anderson. I've been all over the world in the tracks of wildlife, chasing adventure and stories of our untamed planet. From the mountains to the jungle, the opportunity for adventure.
Yeah, you got to check out that. Check out Casey Anderson's YouTube channel, and that's where he's got all the footage. We have links to it in the story from Cowboy State Daily. Check that out. It's man leaves cameras in grizzly caves north of Yellowstone, captures decades worth of video. Surprising that the cameras still worked. One was still functioning just fine. Another one was damaged pretty good, no longer working, but recoverable was the SD card. So everything that it had shot when it was functioning was all stored. And yeah, fascinating story and an insight into bear denning that you may not otherwise get. Insight into Yellowstone from Andrew Rossi's story and how Spock from Star Trek fame, Leonard Nimoy, factored into what is the connection between Spock, Yellowstone, and this man, Eric Ostenson. We'll cover that in the Andrew Rossi story right after this quick break. And also, Don Day is on his way to studio, I'm sure.
JB Hunt now has CDLA truck driving jobs in the Cheyenne area, and they're hiring Class A drivers for a local dedicated route. Drivers can make $78,000 a year and be home every night. Plus, medical benefits after 30 days on the job, also earning paid time off on your first day, and enjoy other perks like a company-matched 401k. As a company founded by a truck driver, JB Hunt is driven for you. So head to drivejbhunt.com to see the JB Hunt difference. That's drivejbhunt.com.
This is the Cowboy State Daily Radio Network.
I don't remember how it started. Our back and forth. Victory. Fumble. Repeat. It always came back.
Okay, here we go, throw it!
Yeah. You probably don't remember what you told me.
That was perfect.
But I heard every word.
Nice.
Jason, let's go see your room.
What do you think? We kept it a little spare, so you can decorate it how you like.
Dinner. Go.
Excellent. Soccer is fun. Yeah, I saw you guys out there. We're the family.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were on my team.
And we're back. Don, I'm having a Monday, man. Oh. What about you?
I'm sorry, Jake. I missed the first part of that.
I'm having a Monday.
Yeah, Monday after holidays, yuck. I believe there should be a holiday on the Monday after a holiday to adjust for the holiday. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, we could make that happen, I would imagine. President Trump, he declared a holiday day the day before and after Christmas, just like that. So, yeah, I like that idea, Don. We need just a little breather space, a little recovery ramp to get back to speed. It's tough. Still seeing above average temps for some parts of Wyoming. Again, it's that divide, that draw that diagonal line in Wyoming, and you got winter over there and not winter over there.
Yeah, and for the next 3 days, that's how it's going to go. I mean, last time we talked about a storm in California pushing moisture into western Wyoming and west of the divide. That's exactly where we are today. Same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing, different day. But after Wednesday, we actually have something to talk about. That big Aleutian high up in the North Pacific is breaking down, and it's gonna go away. So that means our weather should change. And the first change is going to be Thursday and Friday. It's going to be colder statewide by quite a bit. It's not an Arctic blast, but it is going to cool off things quite a bit. And we'll continue to see snow falling in the west. Another 7 inches of snow at the Jackson Hole ski area overnight. And we've got winter weather advisories from Wyoming's western mountains. And that will continue even with this cold front Thursday and Friday. Might even have snow showers out in eastern Wyoming's plains during the day Thursday. Nothing to write home about, but things are changing, Jake. It's kind of like a slow motion change. It's not going to happen right away, but at least this system Thursday and Friday is a hint that we're changing things up with the weather pattern basically on a whole hemispheric standpoint. And so that should get us kind of back in the groove, so to speak, if you know what I mean, in terms of at least getting into weather patterns that we're more accustomed to.
Yeah, not going to be a dam break, but a little gradual getting back to winter. It's all started when I did finally put my snow tires on with the studs. I never did put them on when I went to Minnesota, Don, even though you...
Oh, Jake, no wonder. My goodness.
You said
I am going to send all the angry emails to you now. So.
Well, South Dakota and Minnesota are happy to know I didn't beat up their highways with my studded winter tires. So, but I did when I got back. I put them on, and ever since, they've been snowy in the west part of the state over here in Jackson in the mountains for sure. The ski season needed it. All right, awesome, Don. I like it.
All righty, sir.
Day weather forecast from Don Day, looking like another couple of days of this warmish east of the divide, kind of winter west of the divide. And then changes happening as that massive Aleutian high pressure starts to break down the other high that's the Greenland high. Is it the Greenland high? That one's moving out off east. I forgot. Greenland, I think that's still on the target list for President Trump. While he's invading countries, we got Maduro facing charges this morning in New York City. Trump went and plucked the dictator right out of Venezuela, he and his wife, over the weekend in the dead of night. President Trump's also warning Iran, stop with their clampdown on protests. There's been protests in Iran. The Iranian people, certain Iranian people, not happy with their leadership. It's hard to figure out who's running Iran. There's the religious clerics who kind of call the shots, and then there's the dictator of the month is formally in charge. But there's been weeks of protest, and President Trump has warned Iran, keep it up, keep clamping down on those protests the way you are, keep beheading people, and we're going to come over there, and you're going to be sorry. Paraphrasing, but that's Trump on Iran. And then every once in a while, when there's no other unrest to deal with, President Trump says he's still got eyes on Greenland. He wants Greenland. I got some quotes. Let's play those. Let's go back to the news of this Monday over the weekend, and the U.S. operation. We'll call it U.S. I mean, Trump's operating as the United States of America, though he did not ask Congress about this. But again, as we talked about earlier in the show, that's not highly unusual for a president to take some kind of military action without seeking Congress approval first. Sometimes secrecy, sometimes speed needs to be carried out. But President Trump speaking at Mar-a-Lago Private Club just hours after the capture of Nicolas Maduro and his wife, Trump had the following to say. We have a few cut lines. This one was concerning basically bringing Maduro to justice and why the U.S. intervened.
It was a force against a heavily fortified military fortress in the heart of Caracas to bring outlaw dictator Nicolas Maduro to justice. This was one of the most stunning, effective, and powerful displays of American military might and competence in American history.
President Trump did elaborate more on the operation. Saw a little bit of video from it, and it looked like whatever the U.S. was operating. I don't know if they used a combination of drone strikes or whatever, but it was over quickly, and I saw it just raining down explosion. Like, I don't know what it was. I think it was drone use. I think it was drone shooting at Caracas, and saw a lot of explosions, a lot of fire in downtown Caracas. And apparently it went well for the U.S. Well, meaning there were no loss of life, no injury, really didn't hear about anything on the downside. The U.S. dismantled a Russian-made, set up anti-aircraft fire. That was all Russians that have probably using their old stuff that they sold in Venezuela, and it didn't stand up to whatever the U.S. threw at it. No country could have done what the U.S. did over the weekend in Venezuela, says President Trump. Here's more on that from the president.
No nation in the world could achieve what America achieved yesterday, or frankly, in just a short period of time. All Venezuelan military capacities were rendered powerless as the men and women of our military, working with U.S. law enforcement, successfully captured Maduro in the dead of night. Not a single American service member was killed, and not a single piece of American equipment was lost. We had many helicopters, many planes, many people involved in that fight. But think of that, not one piece of military equipment was lost, not one service member was, more importantly, killed. The United States military is the strongest and most fearsome military on the planet by far. With capabilities and skills our enemies can scarcely begin to imagine. We have the best equipment anywhere in the world.
Yeah, that's President Trump in an impromptu kind of, I don't know if it was a press conference or what, but that was his quotes from Mar-a-Lago in the hours after the capture of Venezuela President Nicolas Maduro and the wife. What is her name? She goes by her different last name. So what comes of it? What happens in the aftermath? You heard President Trump almost immediately after the success of the operation, after the capture of Maduro and the wife, said as far as Venezuela's future, the United States planned to, quote, run Venezuela for an unspecified period, issuing orders to its government and exploiting its vast oil reserves. Yeah, Venezuela, a huge oil producer, and they don't export near the oil they could, crude oil. So whether this is about the oil or whether this is about the fact that Maduro is not a good guy, even the Democrats admit this is a bad guy. How the running of Venezuela is going to take place from here on out remains to be seen. President Trump told reporters that Delcy Rodriguez, who served as Maduro's vice president, would hold power in Venezuela as long as she, quote, does what we want. Well, that doesn't mince any words, does it? President Trump said as long as Delcy toes the line, we'll let her run the country. Meanwhile, Delcy Rodriguez, I don't know if she got the memo. She has not shown too much interest in doing America's bidding. She made a national address over the weekend accusing Washington of invading her country under false pretenses and asserted that Mr. Maduro was still Venezuela's head of state. She said, quote, this is Delcy Rodriguez, VP Venezuela. What is being done to Venezuela is a barbarity. President Trump, meanwhile, doubled down, saying if she doesn't do what's right, she is going to pay a very big price, probably bigger than Maduro. Trump said in an interview Monday, early this morning with The Atlantic. Here's President Trump on the future of Venezuela and what might be happening with their leadership moving forward, whether that's Rodriguez or not. For now, at Mar-a-Lago anyway, over the weekend, Trump said, we're going to run it. We're going to run the country.
Not a single American service. We're going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. So we don't want to be involved with having somebody else get in, and we have the same situation that we had for the last long period of years. So we are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. And it has to be judicious. And what people don't understand, but they understand as I say this, we're there now, but we're going to stay until such time as the proper transition can take place. So we're going to stay until such time as we're going to run it, essentially, until such time as a proper transition can take place.
Yeah, the history of the U.S. running other countries after a leader is deposed is not good. I can't imagine that's a very healthy scenario. Best call would be to have somebody opposed to Maduro in Venezuela take charge. It doesn't seem it's Darcy Rodriguez, not with quotes from her saying that her boss, Mr. Maduro, was still Venezuela's head of state and condemning the operation from the U.S. So I don't think Delcy's your man or your woman if you're President Trump. And meanwhile, there's reports in Venezuela that who runs the show are those with guns. And that has not changed over the weekend, at least not yet. But big news over the weekend certainly is President Trump's operation carried out in the dead of night over the weekend. And the seizure of President Maduro. Maduro, who had once said, "Come and get me," right? He said something like that. I don't think it was that long ago. It's been an ongoing thing where Maduro has kind of been known to be a bad guy running drugs, presumably. And I think Maduro was quoted as challenging the U.S. and President Trump saying, "Hey, I'm right here. Come and get me." And they did. And that was probably a lot easier than maybe anybody thought. Here's the statement from Wyoming Democratic Party. They had this to say. Obviously, the U.S. Democrats, federal Democrats, led by Chuck Schumer, not happy with President Trump's actions, saying he bypassed Congress. What he's doing is unlawful and unjust, etc. Here's a statement from the Wyoming Democratic Party. Today, we woke to news that Donald Trump had launched an illegal, unconstitutional regime change war in Venezuela. And he's not even pretending it's about anything other than enriching oil corporations and billionaires. Instead of being outraged by this blatant violation of the Constitution he claims to hold so dear, or defending Congress's authority to declare war, Senator John Barrasso is cheering as the president tramples it. Wyomingites don't want our government running a foreign country. Wyomingites want to be able to go to the doctor, feed our families, buy a home, and build the American dream in the state we love. This is, again, a statement issued by the Wyoming Democratic Party. The statement continues, Maduro is not a good guy, but let's not lose sight of the bigger question. How does this help lower the cost of living for citizens in Wyoming? How does this solve the real issues facing Americans? This is simply a distraction. That's a quote from Chair Lucas Freilich of the Wyoming Democratic Party. Once again, he continues, the American people are being stabbed in the back while politicians protect billionaires and abandon the Constitution. We deserve better. We must demand it from those elected to serve us. Meanwhile, we told you what Senators John Barrasso and Cynthia Lummis had to say about the action in the story from Sean Berry in the Cowboy State Daily, and a quote from Governor Mark Gordon, all in favor of Trump's decision to snatch Maduro and his wife out of Venezuela. They will face charges, making their first court appearance this morning in New York City. Let's take a quick break and we'll be back with more. Do I have a guest coming up? Let's see. Soon. I got David Madison. I got Trish Wyer. You don't want to miss that. She's the founder of Broken Bandit Wildlife Center in Hillsdale, Wyoming, just outside of Cheyenne. She'll be a lot of fun. Mac Watson will be joining us as well. We'll recap a little bit of sports and I'm sure talk more about President Trump and the operation to bring Maduro to face justice. That and much more as we take our final break this hour.
News happens at any time, any place. That's why at Cowboy State Daily, we're dedicated to the stories that matter, with reporters stretching from your hometown across Wyoming and beyond. It doesn't matter if it's happening in Yellowstone, the capital in Cheyenne, or the most remote slice of Wyoming. With over 150 years of combined journalism excellence, if it affects Wyoming, it affects you, and we've got it covered. Upstream from the herd, we're Cowboy State Daily.
You're listening to the Cowboy State Daily Radio Network.
You know you don't have to wear your PT gear anymore, right?
It's comfortable.
So how's civilian life treating you?
It's fine.
When I got out, I didn't want to admit that there was anything wrong because it felt like a failure. And then I realized, there's nothing to be ashamed of. So I started talking to someone. Maybe you are fine, but if you're not, it's okay.
Thank you.
If you or a veteran you know needs support, don't wait. Reach out. Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Logan Wilson here at the M Building in Casper, Wyoming. They do more than just support businesses and private events. They support nonprofits by offering reduced rates to help the community thrive. The staff here at the M Building have been incredible in helping me organize a fantastic event. They are great partners for those who want to make a positive impact on the community. Come check out the M for your next event.
Hate is loud. It gets clicks. It gets attention. Hate, however, is actually quite small. But love is the majority. Filling up something far more important than any feed. Love fills our hearts, our lives, our every day with understanding, empathy, and compassion, leaving hate to become what it truly is, a whisper.
How about a little bit of this day in history? It's January 5th. I had to double check that. I'm losing 5 days into the new year already. Here are the things that happened on this day in history, January 5. It was this day, 1883, the lights came on in Cheyenne, lighted for the first time by electric lights. The state capital, 1883. 1904, a stage play based on Owen Wister's novel The Virginian opened on Broadway in New York. A remarkable achievement considering the novel had been written only 2 years earlier, 1902, in case you're checking. Displaying the enormous popularity of what is considered the archetype of the Western novel. Prior to The Virginian, there wasn't really a genre called the Western. This is long before Louis L'Amour and anybody else in the genre. The play was staged on this day, 1904, based on The Virginian. On this day, 1925, Nellie T. Ross succeeded her late husband as governor of Wyoming, becoming the first female governor in U.S. history. No other state had a female governor before Wyoming. Wyoming, the equality state, leading the way. Now, Wyoming has not had a female governor since, and technically has not elected a female governor, which leads me to notions of perhaps Tara Nethercott, maybe Megan Degenfelder. I got eyes on you two. Maybe. Just spitballing here, but yeah, although Wyoming had the first female governor in all the United States, we haven't elected one. Nellie Taylor Ross stepped in for her husband, who died in office. 1949, this day, Harry S. Truman labeled the domestic program called the Fair Deal in his State of the Union address. This day, several governors took office officially in Wyoming. John Hickey in 1959. Ed Herschler began his 12-year run as Wyoming governor in 1975. And Mike Sullivan took office as governor on this day in 1987. Sullivan would later serve as ambassador to Ireland under President Clinton. And finally, on this day, 2018, Leslie Blythe, well-known figure, spokesperson for the Rocky Mountain Power, fell victim to the flu epidemic afflicting the nation 2018. I don't remember 2018 being particularly a viral flu season. Supposedly, this year's flu is real bad. Like, the symptoms are going to knock you down, and there isn't really a good targeted vaccine for it, the flu vaccine. But I don't remember, just 1 year before we would be thrown into the pandemic for COVID in 2018. It maybe it just overshadows what 2018 was for a flu season. I don't even remember it, but Leslie Blythe was a victim of the flu epidemic in 2018 on this day, January 5th. All these things happened on this day in history, January 5. And I think we should be ready to rodeo, right? Let me make sure I got the updated rodeo show in place. I'm pretty sure I do. Western Ag Network and Will Rasmussen. No, I don't. Stand by. Let's take care of that right now on the fly. And I'm almost certain. Oh, all right. Here we go. I'm close to being ready. I know we just had that rodeo in Gillette to start this season, and Will was talking about that a little bit. Okay, now we're ready to go. Rodeo Roadshow from the Western Ag Network.
Hi, and welcome to the Rodeo Roadshow. I'm Will Rasmussen on the Western Ag Network. Happy New Year, everybody. It's good to have you along today. I had the opportunity and pleasure and honor to announce Gillette, Wyoming's New Year's Eve Buck and Ball. What an event it is. Some huge names, some great rodeo livestock, all New Year's Eve in Gillette. I'll have the results coming up on the Roadshow next.
Cattle Producers 2025 delivered record highs driven by tight supplies and strong demand, and the outlook for 2026 remains strong. This optimism sets the stage for the first major auction of the year, Superior's Bellringer Video Auction in Oklahoma City. January 6th and 7th, over 80,000 head of quality calves, feeders, and breadstock sell from Ranchers You Trust. Browse the catalog or watch online at superiorlivestock.com or bid online at superiorclicktobid.com. Be part of something bigger. Join the American Sheep Industry Association today. Producers who join their state sheep association automatically gain ASI membership and access to national resources and representation. If your state doesn't have an association, no worries. You can still sign up individually at sheepusa.org and stay connected to the future of the industry. Your voice matters. Your membership counts. Again, learn more at sheepusa.org.
The New Year's Eve Buck and Ball in Gillette, Wyoming is quite an event there at the beautiful Camplex Complex in northeast Wyoming. Every New Year, the gathering of great cowboys, great rodeo livestock, and a lot of money to be won. And in the bareback riding, Sam Peterson of Helena, Montana, 89 points for the young man in the shootout round on Summit Pro Rodeo's Game Trail Buck and Horse. And Sam just won the National Finals Rodeo in Las Vegas. He also finished in the number 2 spot in the race for the world title. He's off once again to a good start in 2026. In the saddle bronc riding, Gunnison, Colorado's Coleman Schellbetter. He will let the rodeo world know who he is, I can assure you of that. He was 90 points in the shootout round at Gillette on Summit Pro Rodeo's Catwalk. And he's just a rookie, and he is going to be terrific. He already is, 21 years old. Colton Kaufman from Lusk, Wyoming, the 20-year-old, sticking and moving from Birch Pro Rodeo in the bull riding event. He wins the shootout round. He moved to the number 3 spot in the world. On the Rodeo Roadshow, I'm Will Rasmussen on the Western Ag Network.
This is the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show with Jake.
Yeah, you heard Will talk about Colton Kaufman from little old Lusk, Wyoming, currently sitting 3rd in the world in bull riding. Now, I don't know how long he'll be able to hang in there. It's early in the rodeo season, but Colton had a fantastic Gillette rodeo, buck and bull, New Year's Eve rodeo, New Year's rodeo in Gillette. In fact, I played you a little bit of his ride. One of his 86, I think he rode an 86 and an 86.5. He had a great time at the road. He wants to put that on replay, on repeat. But good job, Colton, and sitting 3rd in the world because of that payout and because of the fact that most of the top bull riders in the world in the PRCA are taking a little bit of time off after the NFR last month, but not Colton. He's right back to it. We have got to have Craig Johnson on again. I feel so ashamed. We had him on the show talking about his latest book, and he sent me an advance copy. And I had read it. I read it real quick. But this was before I had read any of the Longmire series books. I had not read them yet. I had read C.J. Box and his Joe Pickett series, all 24 of them or whatever. But I hadn't gotten into Craig Johnson's Longmire yet. In fact, my only experience with Craig Johnson's Longmire, Sheriff Longmire, was watching the TV series a little bit, and I just couldn't get into it. So I hadn't done much in the Longmire realm, yet here I was interviewing Craig Johnson and talking about his Longmire books and based on nothing but the newest, Return to Sender is the book. And we had Craig on just because Craig Johnson was inspired to write Return to Sender from an article written by me in the Cowboy State Daily concerning a mail carrier, a rural route carrier. There is such a thing. And these are the kind of mail carriers that they can drive a good hour on bad road between mailboxes. I mean, they have to They have to carry the mail out in the middle of nowhere. And I did this story, and Craig read it and thought, oh, that's a great idea for a novel. And so we talked about that. And we barely talked about the characters everybody has come to love in the Longmire series, from Walt Longmire himself to his under-sheriff, Vic Moretti, to all the characters, right down to the dog called Dog. So I can't wait to talk to Craig again now that I have gone and read. I'm a little past the halfway mark with all the Longmires. They are piled up behind me, and I think I'm a little past. I got to move my head out the way. The ones right there. Yeah. So I've probably read 10 of them on number 11, and I love it. I love the way Craig writes, and we got to have Craig Johnson on again. I got to pick his brain about all the characters, and I got to learn more. So cool. He's the reason I mention him is Renee Jean's got a latest up-to-date Craig Johnson story, Inside the Loft, that inspires Wyoming author Craig Johnson's award-winning career. She, I guess, got to visit his U-Cross cabin. Craig Johnson writes at home in his little U-Cross cabin, a tiny cabin that he built himself, and he works at, and we got the photos. I don't know who was there, whether Renee was there, or whether she just talk to Craig virtually, but we get a peek inside it, exactly where Craig writes his novels. And yeah, it's pretty neat. Where he writes looks very cramped. There's not a lot of room, and he gets his inspiration from music. Yeah, we'll talk more about Craig Johnson. We got to get him back on the show. That's going to close out the hour for us. You're enjoying the show on YouTube, Facebook, X, CowboyStateDaily.com. We had an internet disruption today, so maybe refresh your links or do something like that. Meanwhile, radio stations across the state carrying the show in syndication. Thank you for doing that. And we'll pause for our radio station affiliates now as we play the top of the hour news.
It's time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming. From the Cowboy State Daily News Center, I'm Mac Watson. Justin Bradshaw was headed to work on December 16th in Lyman when he got the last call he'd ever take from his 20-year-old daughter, Macy. Cowboy State Daily's Zach Sontag reports that Dad was there in 4 minutes, but it still was too late.
It was right at that moment that her father showed up and the gunshots rang off. So you just kind of have to picture what that's like. You're the father and your 20-year-old daughter calls you and she says, I need you to come and scare my ex-boyfriend away because he's on my porch and I'm scared. And you immediately go to the scene, and it's not even 4 minutes later that you are there, and yet the gunshots go off and you still are just kind of in this desperate, hopeless place.
The family has established a nonprofit organization called A New Dawn, which is fundraising and organizing mental health resources for young women and others. Macy Dawn Bradshaw's Celebration of Life ceremony was Saturday in Lyman. Wyoming issued a new pro rodeo license plate Friday in response to PETA asking for a plate without the iconic bucking bronco, claiming that rodeo is cruel. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland reports that one state legislator said PETA's request made him want to celebrate rodeo even more prominently.
In response, Senator Brian Boner and some others actually went the other direction and created a specialty plate with a more vivid image of the iconic steamboat saddle bronc being ridden, and a portion of the proceeds from those plates are to go to support rodeo programs in colleges throughout the state.
WYDOT unveiled the plate last Wednesday alongside another specialty plate to promote search and rescue programs. I'll be back with more news from the Cowboy State Daily News Center right after this. WYDOT wants to remind you, with ice and snow, take it slow. Pay attention to reduced speed limits and use low beam and hazard lights in areas of fog and blowing snow. This message from the Wyoming Department of Transportation.
The Wyoming way of life. There's nothing like it. And no financial partner like your local cooperative credit union to help you live life the way you want to. We help you save for a brighter future. Borrow for your dream home. Start your small business. We've got your finances, and you've got plans, so go ahead, pitch a tent, head for the rodeo, reel in a big trout, fire up the smoker. Wyoming's credit unions are here to stay, and here for you.
Cowboy State Daily News continues now. The University of Idaho's drop from the top tier of Division I college football could serve as a warning to the University of Wyoming about the challenges small markets have in the era of NIL and revenue sharing. Cowboy State Daily's David Madison reports that insiders urge realism as financial gaps keep widening.
There are still probably a majority of University of Wyoming fans who don't want anything to change. They believe that the example set by Indiana this year, the doormat of the Big Ten now contending for a national championship, that Wyoming might one day rise from the kind of the middlings of upper tier college football and really contend for a championship and be a top flight program. One of the sources I spoke to really said it best. He said, I could argue both sides of this issue. I'm a diehard Pokes fan, but I can see it both ways. And he didn't really know where he came down. He just wanted something fun and productive and winning on the football field. And however they're able to get there, the better.
Today, the University of Idaho operates without an established revenue sharing fund to pay players. Wildlife filmmaker Casey Anderson left stop-motion cameras in 2 grizzly dens north of Yellowstone in 2015 and then forgot about them. Cowboy State Daily's Mark Hines reports that last summer, Anderson went back to the caves and, to his amazement, recovered the cameras and more than a decade's worth of footage.
In 2015, he set up 2 of these. He found a couple caves where grizzlies had been denning, hibernating for the winter, way up high in the mountains north of Yellowstone there. And, these 2 caves in relatively close proximity to each other. And so he put cameras in each of these caves and got busy doing other things. He's a busy guy. And this summer, he's like, wow, maybe I should go check on those cameras after 10 years. They found both of them. One was still intact. The other one, at least the case had been trashed pretty badly. But the SD cards on both of them were intact. I think between them, they had something like 300 clips.
Anderson tells Cowboy State Daily that despite popular images of bear caves, grizzlies rarely den up for the winter in caves. Instead, they usually dig up their own dens into the sides of steep alpine slopes, going down and then turning back up to create a cozy pocket to retain heat over the winter. And that's a look at today's news. Get your free digital subscription to Wyoming's only statewide newspaper by hitting that daily newsletter button at cowboystatedaily.com. I'm Mac Watson for Cowboy State Daily.
We all make choices. When it comes to alcohol, kids make choices whether to drink or not.
Bye, Dad.
Bye-bye.
Remember, I'm going to Alex's party tonight and sleeping over.
Have fun. Hey, have a seat for a second. Remind me about that party again?
Alex is just...
And adults make choices whether to talk about it. That's true of parents and every other trusted adult in a kid's life. Kids want to know our expectations when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. They want guidance and honest answers to their questions. And it makes a difference when the message is consistent and part of everyday conversations. So talk with your kids and help lead them on a positive path. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Cowboy State Daily Show, Monday. D-Mad's here. David Madison dropping in. David, your story. Let's see. Where do we start? How about the smarter chicken coop created by this Sheridan couple?
Yeah, there are a couple initiatives around the state to inspire entrepreneurism and innovation. And one of them is based out of Gillette, and they put out a call for ideas. It really is kind of a local Shark Tank experience. And this couple in Sheridan was already a little ways down the road. They have backyard chickens. I've never had them. I have lots of friends that have done it.
Yeah, same.
And I guess it's a lot of work. It's basically a set of pets that you got to care for when you go out of town. And I do know about that. And so the couple, really put their heads together and came up with what I think of as, that scene in Ferris Bueller's Day Off when he tries to fake out his parents and have the robot in the bedroom to make it look like he's still sleeping there. Yeah. It's kind of like a robot system to make the chickens think the people are still there taking care of them. And they went through a pitch process. They said it was just like Shark Tank, that they really got quizzed hard, but they had their act together. They had a patent and a design, and they got $50,000 to develop this. And so now their backyard, and I think maybe some of their friends in Sheridan, will become the prototype, the skunk works of really putting out a system that that makes automation part of the backyard chicken experience. And so I guess for what does it mean for our society at large? Is it good for humanity? I think maybe so. As we saw what happened to egg prices not so long ago, and chickens are really can be part of a backyard agricultural experience. They can help a garden. They provide fertilizer. They eat pests, insects that might otherwise be eating your vegetables. And so, yeah, I like to think it's a win-win. It shows that what probably started as a around the kitchen table conversation, like, how can we go out of town on vacation? We got all these chickens, turned into some technology in a business that may end up employing people in Wyoming and spreading the gospel of backyard chickens.
The mother of invention here was the necessity. Dan and Jenny Barons saw it whenever they wanted to get away. They had a whole mess of chickens in the backyard, and the neighbor probably got sick of coming over and feeding. Chickens are becoming more and more popular. We're seeing city and town ordinances being tweaked to allow for a certain amount of backyard chickens. I know from watching my friends do them that chickens eat almost anything, man. They're like goats. All your leftovers, they'll eat almost anything. And then the eggs, what a benefit. I love it. Super good idea, Dan and Jenny. They might have something here, whether they use it just for their own personal or they get out marketing something and you can buy it on Amazon soon. We'll see, but cool.
Yeah. And if you've ever seen a store, kind of a corporate egg, when you crack it, it has a pale color to it. And when you get one from the farm, right, you can just tell it's richer in nutrients and just tastes better. And
yeah,
so more power to them.
Yeah, better for you. And just the idea that, you're doing something so self-sustainable. I mean, it feels good. The egg feels better eaten, knowing that it came from one of your chickens. You probably can name the chicken by name. I still not sure whether I consider it a step down or the negative side of the University of Wyoming and the idea that they may have to drop out of D1. If you either got to pay to play, pay to compete, and if you can't compete, and certainly at the money that the university throws at NIL right now, you wouldn't think that that's competing very good. Maybe the answer is stepping down out of D1. Idaho did it. The Vandals did it. And did it work for them or not really?
Yeah. And it technically, it's not, you wouldn't be losing your Division I status. Like, you could remain Division I in basketball. It really is a football issue and a revenue issue. So Division I football is divided into two subdivisions, the football Bowl subdivision and the football championship subdivision, which has the championship game tonight between Montana State and Illinois State. And so where programs like Idaho and Wyoming have found themselves, these isolated college towns outside of major television markets, they have a tough time because, like it or not, football at the Division I level in college sports has become a totem pole of television revenue. And there's a few, a collection of a few dozen teams that have the firepower to have budgets that exceed $20.5 million, which was this cap as part of this House settlement. There's some programs that it's probably approaching $50 million. With the Michigans and the Alabamas and the Notre Dames of the world. And Wyoming is way below that.
Yeah.
It's been left behind by BYU and Colorado State, what were once two traditional rivals. And so I turn to the University of Idaho as an example to show what can happen and what, how hard it is to deal with this situation. So going back a ways, Boise State and the University of Idaho used to have a really thriving rivalry. I lived in Boise when Idaho came to town to play Boise State. You probably didn't want to stay out too late. There was literally a bar fight down there. I may have mentioned that before because it was burned into my memory when I read it in the newspaper the next morning. Anyway, they don't play anymore. That is a ancient history. There's probably people who are now Bronco fans who didn't even know that there was a rivalry. Well, what we see now, I'm worried, what we're seeing now is like Colorado State and BYU are separating from the University of Wyoming, and it all has to do with money. And Boise State went on to have a really successful run into the upper echelon of Division I football, while Idaho really struggled. It joined the Sun Belt Conference. I know I'm missing a step here, but anyway, it was without a conference for a couple of years. And then it finally dropped back down into FCS. So it's now in the Big Sky Conference. And it doesn't really have a revenue sharing program. It doesn't pay its players. Players are eligible to do a name, image, and likeness deal on their own. And there's a whole complicated process to do that. So if the star quarterback gets approached by the local sports bar that wants to name a lunch special after him, he can make a little money on that, or he can show up on a car dealership ad or something. But what bigger schools are doing are creating these huge funds, and basically it's the treasury, the same. It's like the checking account of an NFL team now, and they're writing checks to players. Well, Idaho's not doing that. I spoke to the assistant athletic director, Matt Brewer, there, and he left Boise State as he saw Boise State professionalizing and decided that he really wanted to go a different route. He also had family connections to Moscow, Idaho, moved back to Moscow, and is really a champion of this idea that, look, when you get a college scholarship to play football at the University of Idaho, it's not just your tuition, right? Like you get housing and books and support, and it adds up to like $150,000 investment in every player. So it's significant even before you start paying them, right? And I think his line was something like, college athletics is part of the academic experience. It's a tool of academics. And that message is completely drowned out in the higher levels of Division I football. And Wyoming's caught in the middle. It's not, it doesn't have a big enough fan base or even student fee account. There's just not enough students paying student fees to really come up with a lot of money to pay players and create a payroll that can compete with its traditional rivals. And so what we're going to see over the next year is a search for solutions. Is a big alumni going to step up and write a big check, which is possible? T. Boone Pickens is famously, behind the Oklahoma State rise, and really while he was alive, he's a big natural gas guy, I believe. He really supported that program. Will someone like that step up and support the Pokes? Or will there be some kind of taxing mechanism? The University of Hawaii is reaching out to the legislature, trying to see if there's a funding path there. University of Wyoming did just conduct a survey. It shows that there's strong support for athletics at the university across the state, But will that translate into some kind of public funding? I think 2026 is going to bring some answers.
Yeah, I did see that study. We'll see whether lawmakers, legislators are fully behind UW. We'll see that pretty soon. Next month, during the budget session, every time UW and Tom Berman and the folks over in Laramie come to lawmakers and say, we need more money to compete, we'll see what their answer is definitely soon. And maybe when we see the answer, UW will have its course charted a little more detailed. I don't know what the future is, but there's no way you can play college football at the level some of these other schools do if you're UW.
Yeah, I mean, the optimistic spin is look at who's at the top of the football heap right now. It's University of Indiana, which used to be the doormat of the Big Ten, and they don't have a huge budget. It's way bigger than the University of Wyoming's, but they have managed to be smarter, better, figure out how to put a team together and really land a fantastic coach. And it's all paid off. So that's the optimistic spin. And then the University of Idaho is the pessimistic spin. It's, well, you can try to rise up and get slapped back down and then make peace with the fact that it's still really cool to play at the FCS level that, and I hope tonight's game in Nashville, Montana State, Illinois State, I hope that's really entertaining. I hope that really shows a wide audience that level of football is worthwhile.
Yeah, and maybe will become more so just because of where we're at. And I'm going from Montana State, so I'm sure David is as well. All right. Speaking of that, the Indiana success story, success breeds success, and that coach decided to play that game and do the transfer portal, do the whole NIL, and it's working. Obviously, look at Indiana's success as they make a run for the championship, and already we're hearing they have a quarterback lined up for next year via the transfer portal, some hotshot blue chip quarterback. On other sports topics, let's talk about this Olympian. Wow, Anna Gibson from Jackson. I know Anna is probably the most fit person I have ever met, seen. Her cardio, her resting heart rate has to be like 23. I mean, she's a runner, distance runner, but she can do things on skis. Anything that involves cardio, endurance, stuff like that. She's an athlete, man. Anna Gibson.
Yeah, I was inspired to hear her story of convincing her parents to let her go skin up the resort in Teton Village as an 8-year-old. I mean, I have fond memories, but some were frustrating. I used to take a wagon to the ski area so I could put my kids in it to pull them uphill because I knew they didn't want to walk uphill to the ski area. And then I had it there in case I needed to evacuate because someone was having a meltdown. But Anna was not that problem child. No, she wanted to climb the hills and stay on the snow. And you can, it's great to see, a Wyoming lifestyle essentially blossom into a spot on the Olympic team. And I think that is worthy of all of us really cheering her on. She came out of nowhere in a sense, but she also had been training for this her whole life. And I'm really rooting for her. She's also a professional trail runner, which I think is cool that you can be that. She lives right there at the base of Snow King. And for those that don't know, Snow King is the ideal place to train for skimo. Ski mountaineering is the event she's going to compete in. It's a brand new event. You might say it's the break dancing of winter sports this year, and it's like living at the base of Snow King to be a skimo athlete. It's like living on the North Shore of Oahu to be a surfer. I mean, it's the perfect spot, and so it's steep. Usually has good snow. And this year's been a little challenging, and so she wakes up. She's 2 blocks away. She's training there. They're going to Spain soon to compete in another World Cup event, and then it's on to Italy. So, yeah, let's all get behind Anna. And I think there's 2 other Wyoming residents who will be in the Olympics. I believe there's a bobsledder from Laramie and then a freestyle skier from Alta.
Oh, yeah, Jalen Koff. Yeah, I'm excited. Anna Gibson. Before I even knew what uphill skiing was, and I saw the term uphill skiing, I'm like, how do you ski uphill? But it's just a set of elite athletes that prefer not to take the lift to the top for whatever reason. They consider part of skiing is getting up to the top before you make your run. That's part of it. That's the way they do it in Jackson anyway. Hardcore. Anna Gibson.
Yeah, anyone who doesn't, even if you don't ski, but you've driven over Teton Pass and you've seen the parking lot completely full.
Yeah.
They're essentially practicing the sport that Anna's going to compete in.
Yeah. Very cool. David, appreciate it. Have yourself a great Monday.
Likewise. See you next week.
Okay. David Madison, his story on Anna Gibson, who's headed to the 26 Winter Olympics out of Jackson, Wyoming. Love it. What does Wyoming do? Do they go the way of the Idaho Vandals and move down in football in division play? Or do you try to do what Indiana did and play the game a little bit? We'll find out in the coming months, years, what UW does in the NIL world. Hey, we got to pause for commercial break, and we'll get Trish Wyer on here next, right after these words. Thanks for making us a part of your Monday.
Let's face it, mornings are tough. Gotta get up, gotta get the kids ready, feed the dog, the cat, every other living thing in your house. Oh, get caffeinated. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. But you also want to be informed, catch up on what's happening in Wyoming and the world as well. Hear from the newsmakers of the day. That's why Cowboy State Daily has The Morning Show with Jake. Jake Nichols talks about the news you care about, not some ponderous, overwrought, inside the Beltway show that's syndicated out of New York or LA. You want the news that's going to affect you and your life. Jake interviews not only the newsmakers, but the deciders, the people who make the decisions for the future of Wyoming. Plus, you'll hear the stories directly from our award-winning reporters from Cowboy State Daily. So make sure you start your day off the Wyoming way with Cowboy State Daily's Morning Show with Jake Nichols. Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Stream it on our homepage. Watch it on YouTube. Cowboy State Daily's Morning Show with Jake. Oh, and don't forget your car keys.
This is the Cowboy State Daily Radio Network.
I don't think that many kids in my son's school even do it.
He makes fun of his friend who vapes.
He would never try it.
She's into soccer.
She's on the honor roll.
She's just not the type.
No way.
No way.
No way.
No way, my kid would never vape.
Get your head out of the cloud. Today, nearly 8,000 kids will start vaping. Maybe even yours. Learn about the dangers at talkaboutvaping.org.
Life's daily battles are not meant to be fought alone.
We're not powerless, so long as we don't lose sight of what's important.
Don't be afraid to seize that moment to talk to your friends.
Cloud, you okay?
Because checking in on a friend can create a safe space.
The first step on our new journey. You coming?
Reach out to a friend about their mental health. Seize the awkward. It's totally worth it.
There are a lot of words I would use to describe my daughter. Kind, strong, hilarious. When I think about how much she's experienced in her life, on a journey that we're now on together as a family,
I'll make you something to eat, okay?
we can't help but be inspired by her every day.
Hey, Mom, we're about to start the movie.
Oh, yeah, I'll be right there. Okay.
So really, we're the lucky ones. Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org.
Cowboy State Daily Show with Jake on a Monday, and we're going to check in with Trish, Wyer, and the Broken Bandit Wildlife Center in Hillsdale, Wyoming, which is kind of like Cheyenne East, I guess. And they got all kinds of critters there. You may have read about them most recently in the Mark Hines story concerning the raccoons, the little kits that were rescued. But hang on, you better bring mama with them, or there's going to be heck to pay and maybe a wrecked car. We're going to talk all about that story and more, including what you might find over there at the Broken Bandit Wildlife Center. You never know. They got a skunky chunk or a chunky skunk, one or the other, named Stinkerbell. They got, I don't know how you came across the zebra, but I'm sure we'll find out. And Trish is joined by the latest 2 acquisitions, I'm assuming. Where did you get these homeless wildlife? I noticed they're not caged. They must be okay. Trish, what are you doing this morning?
We're just hanging out this morning, getting our chores done, feeding our critters, getting them ready for the next wonderful Wyoming day.
Nice. I see some in the background there. Are those the aforementioned raccoons, or are those other ones?
No, these are actually our permanent residents that can't be released due to injuries.
Yeah, so look at that. Look at that guy climb. I got some raccoons. Oh, man. Is that... Now, those are the regular old, trash pandas you'd find in Wyoming, and you shouldn't use that derogatory. Raccoons are super smart. Believe me, I leave food. I have what do you call it? Ammo cases that latch shut pretty tightly. And I have in them bird seed and feed for the chickadees. And these raccoons, I got 2 of them, and they're the fattest raccoons you've ever seen. They do really well here. They're right out on the porch, and they don't think anything if I show up on the porch or see. They just, if I catch them doing something, they don't care. They look at me like, what? We're in the middle, and they get into the ammo cave. They're really good with their hands, aren't they?
Absolutely. I think there was a study done a while back that a raccoon can open up an actual padlock within, I think it was 20 minutes, but don't quote me on the time. They're pretty smart.
There you go. They can get into, so I'm wasting my time. They can get into padlocks and rifle through your pants pockets while you're at it. Let's talk about the story. Mark Hines, this story. Now, how long have you been in operation, the Broken Bandit Wildlife Center? And briefly tell us what it is you do, what animals you take in, what circumstances you take them in, and then what do you try to do with them? Some you rehabilitate, put back into the wild. Some you're not going to be able to do that. For instance, you have a blind fox there. He's never going to be able to go back into the wild. What do you do there at brokenbanditwildlifecenter.org, by the way?
So the Broken Bandit actually opened up to the public in 2021. We had got our official 501c3, making us a nonprofit. Myself, I have been doing rehab for well over 20 years. We don't really have a limit on what kind of animals we'll deal with. We deal with wildlife, exotics, horses, you name it, we'll deal with it. We tend to stray away from dogs and cats. We have wonderful places that can help take care of those animals without draining our resources. Our main goal out here is that we bring in orphaned, abandoned, injured wildlife or exotics. And the end goal is to rehabilitate them, release them. But if for some reason they're not releasable, they do sanctuary with us. We've got several animals here year round because they can't survive on their own, whether it was an injury or somebody thought that they'd make a great pet and realized down the road, nope, they sure are not. So then they get dumped off with us as well.
Yeah, and you have some interesting critters there, stuff that kind of falls through the cracks, like game and fish doesn't really, consider anything that they want to deal with. And then on the other end, you got guys like Chris Saunders, who goes and catches pests in traps when he gets the call. And then what is he going to do with them? So you really are a catch-all for different kind of critters. Tell me about the raccoon you have a raccoon there that is not a U.S. raccoon. It's a different kind of raccoon. In fact, he's kind of like a nasty thing. You don't want to let anybody in there with him. He's aggressive. What kind of raccoon is that?
So we have Koala Mondays, and I think you're referring to our South American crab-eating raccoon. Unfortunately, she did pass away last year.
Oh.
So with her, it was old age. She was able to live out her life out here and kind of just do her own thing. A lot of people like to get these exotic animals for social standings, just to say, look what I have. And then they realize that they're really not meant to be in a home.
So when it comes to raccoons, that seems to be right in your wheelhouse. You do a lot of raccoon stuff. The reason raccoons may get to you and get to your shelter is most often probably the kits are captured and mama's nowhere to be found. Mama may be hit by a car, mama's gone, and the kits are going to probably suffer a slow, painful death. So that's where the Broken Bandit Wildlife Center can step in. That's what we thought we were dealing with when Chris Saunders, owner and operator of the Cheyenne-based 307 Pest Critter Catching Company, got the call from somebody in Wyoming saying, I got a bunch of kit raccoons here. There's no mama. Come and get them out of my, I don't know what they were in, a boat or something. That began the story. And tell the rest of it, Trish. Probably that you see a lot of kit raccoons with a similar scenario. Mom's gone, but in this case, she wasn't.
No, mom was definitely not gone. So Chris had the finder reach out to us to go pick up the babies. We did bring them here. We brought them inside. They were plenty wild, and mom was doing a great job taking care of those babies. And for whatever reason, she wasn't there at the time. So a few days later, we had gotten a phone call from the disgruntled individual because this raccoon had done so much damage to his truck. So we got a hold of Chris and we sent him out there, and we had asked him, hey, can you see if you can help this poor guy out? He was able to trap that mama raccoon and bring her out here. Because of the time that had gone by, we weren't 100% sure that it, number one, was mom, and number two, that she would even accept the kids back. Well, he brought her out here in a trap. There are a couple pictures out there of her. At first, they were growling and snarling at each other, and then all of a sudden, we hear these absolutely adorable cooing, and they start reaching for each other, and we knew that that was mom. So after that, we had put him out in our pre-release pen to give mom the opportunity to raise those babies. And once everybody was of age, we were able to successfully release mom and her babies. Nowhere near a boat, nowhere near people. We do have our own little areas that we don't disclose. It kind of was just one of the biggest heartwarming stories of 2025 for sure.
Yes.
We don't
Success story with a good ending. I like the way, obviously, not your first rodeo, Trish. You understand that this might not be the right mama, and she might not be terribly receptive. After all, she went and destroyed a car because she was so mad about her missing kits. So, yeah, let's do it gradually. Let's put them in their separate cages side by side. How long did it take for everybody to warm up?
I would say it probably took about 5 minutes for them to realize that that was mom and those were babies. And after that, it was just love at first sight, I guess.
Very cool. So I also want to talk about the draft horses. You got a connection up there, I think, in Montana, Jasmine, with one horse at a time draft rescue. When did you start that? Obviously, you must have facilities that could care for a draft horse. I've seen you got a permanent resident mule, it looks like, and we'll talk about how come you come by the striped horse in a minute. But yeah, draft horses also.
So we had actually adopted, on the personal side, a draft horse from Jasmine with one horse at a time draft rescue. And that kind of led to an amazing friendship between the two of us. Occasionally she comes across draft horses in our area or coming through our area. And we do help her out by fostering some of them and helping her find adoptive homes for them as well.
Very cool. We're talking to Trish Wyer, the Broken Bandit Wildlife Center. Okay, it looks like your newest inboard is a zebra. How does one come by a zebra? And I as a horse person, I wonder if you would use similar tactics to get the zebra at least to accept, you walking in a stall with it and dropping food. Like at the very beginning, the zebra's got to be like wild as all get out. And then maybe you gentle it a little bit. You're actually certified. You're the only certified rehabilitation. What is it, Trish?
Certified wildlife rehabilitator.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how does the zebra come your way? Who is this Gideon, and what are you going to do with it?
So Gideon came to us as a fluke. We had originally been told about a zebra that was going to run through the Centennial Livestock Auction. So we put up a bunch of posts and fundraisers to help get the zebra out of general public. So everybody wants a striped horse. They're unique. They're exotic. The only thing is that it doesn't matter. A zebra is a zebra that's a zebra. They do become aggressive. There's a 1 in a million chance that it's not going to become aggressive and hurt somebody. The original zebra, they were saying, was a therapy animal. He was young. He was under a year. He visited nursing homes, all of that kind of stuff. Any baby you can take anywhere. Babies are usually pretty good about maneuvering around new situations without getting scared. Unfortunately, the day of the auction, that zebra did pass away. One of our donors for that zebra had reached out and said, hey, we have a problem. We got a zebra. She had a baby. They're both crazy. They're both terrifying. We don't want to go through this again. Well, with all of the winds that we've had around, it actually took down a power line and the mama zebra got electrocuted. Ooh. So this was kind of their way out. They asked us if we were interested in taking him on. I said, let me talk to my donors. Let's see what they say. This is their money. This is their choice. And of course, everybody said, yes, let's get Gideon. Let's get him home. So we did get him home. He's about 7 months old. He is not people friendly. He's very, very nervous. So we're taking things very, very slow with him at the moment. That way he doesn't injure himself or anybody else at that.
Yeah, so in the case of Gideon and the zebra, that's going to be similar to probably the two cats you have living in your place, Bob and Cat. These are animals that, because of the start they got in life, they're never going to make it in the wild. So what could possibly be the future for Gideon the zebra? Is he going to have to live out his life there? Could there be a scenario where you could get him adopted out somewhere?
Absolutely not adopt him out to general public. It's a dangerous avenue to explore. We're taking it one day at a time with Gideon. Gideon's going to tell us what he wants. If we have to look into a sanctuary or if he's going to stay with us. Right now we have him partnered up with one of our mini ponies, and he actually seems to be doing really well with him. So it's just one day at a time with him.
I want to find, I had a photo here of some of your permanent residents. This is any animal that cannot be adopted out that you've taken on. You make that commitment. If we can't get this released back into the wild, if they're not adoptable in any way, they're going to live out life in Hillsdale at your center. You got some permanent residents, the skunk, the fox, and these two bobcats look so cool. They're like domestic cats, only a little bigger. Like they're gonna knock things around a little bit. Are they still with you?
They are still with us, yes. Bob and Cat actually have a wonderful outdoor enclosure that they kind of raise Holy Cane in when they want to. They are safe for a few of our volunteers to go in to clean, but at the end of the day, they are still wild animals, and we still respect the fact that they are wild animals.
And I think that's one of the main things here at Broken Bandit is all of us respect that these are still wild animals and we're not treating them as pets. We're going in with them knowing that if we're cleaning after them, if we're looking after them, feeding them, these are still 100% wild animals and we have to respect their space.
Yeah, and I imagine to a degree, you have to curb your own desire to treat them like a pet, to cozy up to them. There's going to be some that you say this animal's destined for release in the wild. For instance, this raccoon family, you purposely don't want to be all lovey-dovey with them and cozy. You got to keep them at arm's length, like they should not be viewing humans as friendly food source kind of thing. How do you do that? That's difficult.
Well, when they're bottle babies, that's very hard to do because we've got to be very hands-on. We turn into moms. We've got to feed them. We've got to potty them. We've got to clean them. But once they're old enough to start eating on their own, we limit our exposure to them. We clean their enclosures, we feed them, we water them, and we walk away, even though some days that poses to be harder than others.
Yeah.
They're actually difficult when they're babies because they are so cute and snuggly and they want to walk up your legs and you're feeding them and they're making their cute little chirping noises at you. But there does hit this flip in age where it is very apparent we're going hands off because they turn into, like, for lack of better words, like a feral teenager. And you have to go hands off. They're going through puberty. They're, getting grumpy. They have a bad sleep schedule. And you're like, all right, it's time to step away. And we're no longer friends. We're just stepping in and we'll do some cleaning here and there. But we have to break that bond a little.
You definitely learn to read their cues. And they'll tell you when they're ready to be weaned and become more hands off. And they'll even tell you, too, by reading their cues, when they're ready to be released. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's fascinating. You get a unique day-to-day view of wildlife that many of us only get glimpses of. Wyoming has no zoo, after all, as a state. We don't have a zoo in the state. Our zoo is the great outdoors, and once in a while we get a glimpse of something wild. But you get really close up and personal with wild animals. That's got to be pretty interesting job. How we need to get you money. All this stuff isn't free. You've got donors, but you're always in fundraising mode, I would imagine. I saw on the Facebook some cutting boards. I want to get in on that. I just need a Venmo account. How can we get you money, and where do we do it?
So we occasionally offer open houses and tours where you guys can actually come out and meet our permanent resident animals, learn about them a little bit as to why they are not great pets. We just took on doing cutting boards, keychains, stuff like that we'll start bringing with to fundraisers. Or you can jump on our Facebook page and send us a private message and we can definitely get cutting boards made for you. We do random fundraisers throughout the year. I think this year we're going to try and join a couple of craft fairs just to help raise awareness, collect donations, sell some of our really neat stuff. Hopefully we can do more than cutting boards, but we're starting out slow for the moment. Usually the best way to find out what we have going on is if you have Facebook, jump on the Facebook page and just kind of follow us on there and see what we do day to day. We do private tours also. They are by appointment only, so please don't show up at the gate. Most of the time we're very, very busy, so it's hard to stop what we're doing to be able to take people around.
Just outside of Cheyenne in a place called Hillsdale, which I've always argued isn't a real town, but is it? Is Hillsdale like a real place?
Well, we have a post office.
Oh, all right. Then that's legit.
So, yeah.
It goes back a long way, Trish. You had to be there. It's inside joke. Me and Mark Gill, I do high school rodeo in Wyoming. I announce high school rodeo for live stream for the Cowboy Channel. And very often we'll have a cowboy, cowgirl from Hillsdale, Wyoming. And I'm like, there's no such place. And my cohort, the color guy, Mark Hill, says, yes, there is. And it's their real big rodeo. He swears Hillsdale's real. And you're there. You would know.
We are absolutely there.
All right. Well, thank you so much for everything you do. Animals, that's my thing. That's a lot of people's thing. And I'm glad there's outfits like this. The Broken Bandit Wildlife Center. Find them on the interwebs, brokenbanditwildlifecenter.org. And follow along on Facebook while you're there. Like, friend, follow, all that stuff. And you can see all the latest, including the Gideon the Zebra. Very cool. Hey, thanks, guys, for coming on this morning. Appreciate it.
Good morning.
Happy Monday. So cool. Cowboy State Daily. You probably read the story by Mark Hines in the Cowboy State Daily. Wyoming Animal Rescue says raccoon reunion with her baby's favorite story of 2025. Find out how the kits got to this rescue facility, and then how mom was reunited with her babies after she wrecked a vehicle. She was probably enraged. I can't blame her. We got to take a quick break. We'll be back with more on the Cowboy State Daily Show with Jake after these.
JB Hunt now has CDLA truck driving jobs in the Cheyenne area, and they're hiring Class A drivers for a local dedicated route. Drivers can make $78,000 a year and be home every night. Plus, medical benefits after 30 days on the job, also earning paid time off on your first day, and enjoy other perks like a company-matched 401k. As a company founded by a truck driver, JB Hunt is driven for you. So head to drivejbhunt.com to see the JB Hunt difference. That's drivejbhunt.com. In Wyoming, you want news from folks who still shake hands and mean it. You just want the facts. That's why more Wyomingites listen to Cowboy State Daily Radio. News that doesn't bend, twist, or dance around the truth. Crisscrossing the state to cover the news the way you like it, with reporters steps away from the Capitol in Cheyenne and in your hometown. No spin, no corporate suits, no duh. Talking about your state. This is Cowboy State Daily Radio.
You're listening to the Cowboy State Daily Radio Network.
Who can you turn to for news you can trust? Your local TV and radio broadcasters. You trust us to keep you safe during times of crisis and to deliver the weather, sports, and entertainment you rely on every day. We bring you the facts you need to make decisions that matter. And as misinformation floods social media, you can trust your local stations to deliver the truth. Text TV to 52886 and tell Congress you rely on your local stations for trusted news.
You handle the healthcare, we'll handle the marketing. In need of a spark for marketing your medical practice? Loom Studio provides creative and strategic healthcare marketing that illuminates the path to bigger and better experiences for your business and your patients. We specialize in branding and design, social media, website design, SEO and SEM, not to mention content creation, public and media relations, and marketing metrics to ensure you're getting results. If you're looking to increase your patient engagement and retention, enhance your community impact, and streamline your marketing efforts, our team is ready to help you achieve your goals. Contact us today and learn more at loomstudio.com.
I'm Chris Jakimick. I served in the United States Air Force and I deployed 3 times. So in 2017, I was serving as an Air Force First Sergeant. Our motto in that role is my job is people, everyone is my business. But unfortunately in that year, I would lose my own brother, Lance Corporal Adam Jakimick, to suicide. The majority of veteran suicides are from guns. I store my weapons securely, not only for myself, but for my family. My service never stops.
Cowboy State Daily Show with Jake. That would be my dream job if I didn't already have this one. I always thought I was destined for a job with animals, and I've been a horse wrangler. I've done some dog training. behavioral training with dogs. But I always thought, if I wasn't in radio or broadcast or DJ or all the other things I do, like my gig would be working with animals in some way. So Trish has my dream job. Trish Wyer, founder of the Broken Bandit Wildlife Center in Hillsdale, Wyoming, where she takes in those kind of critters that fall between the cracks. They're not pets, but they're not an animal that a department, an agency like Wyoming Game and Fish would be interested in. In other words, if you've got a problem raccoon that's getting into your garbage, you just can't get rid of it. If you call Game and Fish, they're going to say, hey, deal with it. We're not interested. So that's when it comes down to, folks like Chris Saunders, who is a pest critter catcher. And then what do you do with it when you got it caught? Well, the Broken Bandit Wildlife Center often steps in, whether it's a blind fox, a stinky skunk named Stinkerbell, this chunky skunk, or these weird kind of they're another kind of raccoon, but they're different. They got a snout nose. They're almost like an anteater raccoon. I forget what they're called. They got a couple of those at this facility as well. But you know what they don't have, although maybe they can get into it, is a flathead cat. I just read in the New York Post, a flathead cat has been caught on video. This is an animal thought to have been extinct, not seen in the wild for 30 years, thought to be extinct. A flat-headed cat was caught on camera. I'm assuming because the story is in the New York Post that it was in the New York area. Let me see where exactly this. Oh no, not in New York. In Southeast Asia. Oh yeah, I remember. This isn't a news story. I heard about this a while ago, but biologists flabbergasted when an elusive animal thought to be extinct was spotted in Thailand after a staggering 30 years after it was last seen in the wild. The native homeland of the flat-headed cat is Southeast Asia, so no surprise this one turned up in Thailand. But the clawed creature, named for its elongated forehead and flat skull, last sighting occurred in 1995. It looks like a cat. Only, yeah, it looks like a flat-headed cat. Let me share photos of this flat-headed cat seen in Thailand for the first time in 30 years. 1995, the last time this species was seen in the wild. Yeah, I would, that sounds like it should be rehabilitated at Trish Wyer's place. Next hour, we'll get Matt Watson on. We'll talk some more about President Trump, the invasion of Venezuela, the capture of their president, Maduro, and his wife. They are facing charges as we speak on the East Coast in New York. Was the operation justified? Was it legal? And was it right? These debates are being had today over the water cooler and being discussed over the weekend, just hours after the operation that captured Maduro. You heard statements from the Democratic Party, and of course they're not in alignment with the operation that occurred in the dead of night over the weekend. Meanwhile, Wyoming delegates including both Wyoming Senators Barrasso and Lummis, both in agreement, both commending the president for his swift operation, his takedown of a dictator. Governor Mark Gordon as well issued a statement saying he likes the fact that President Trump acted. Secretary of State Chuck Gray also issued a release saying he's in full agreement with President Trump's actions. Still waiting to hear something official from Congresswoman Harriet Hageman, but can assume that would be coming today, hopefully. As we dig into this story further, Mac and I will discuss. We've got several quotes from President Trump and a kind of a impromptu press release at Mar-a-Lago on Saturday. We got highlights, quotes from President Trump himself just hours after the operation, which was a success. What else are we looking at today? I don't have time to do the game and fish story. Let's, Dale Killingback would be on, but I think he is out of town, so we're not going to get Dale next hour. I would love to talk to him about this story that dropped on January 3rd over the weekend. 9 brothers from Hawk Springs made headlines across the country back in 1929 when they fielded a full baseball team of brothers. The Marlett family was comprised of all brothers, all sharing the same DNA. I got a photo of this ball club that I'm going to share. This photo was taken in 1920. And I can only assume this poor mother birthed all these brothers. It is the only known all-brother baseball team. Of course, to field a baseball team, you need at least 9 guys, right? I'm counting these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. They might have more than that. An 18-member family. A century ago, it was in Goshen County. You would find this baseball family, all these brothers. I mean, I guess to be a part of the family, you've got to play baseball, right? In 1924, the boys won an all-brothers baseball team 3-game championship, defeating a Nebraska family team. In 1929, they were challenged by a Polish team of brothers out of Illinois to prove they were the best brother baseballers in the nation. And the headlines in the New York Times read September 21st, 1929. It sounded like this, read like this. 2 all-brother nines start own baseball title play today. This Goshen family, the Marlett family from Wyoming, fielded an entire baseball team with brothers. I don't know if that'll ever be duplicated again. What an interesting story from Dale Killingback. That story in the Cowboy State Daily for you baseball fans. That'll wrap up this hour. 1 more to go as we take a break for the top of the hour news for our radio affiliates.
It's time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming. From the Cowboy State Daily News Center, I'm Mac Watson. Billionaire Joe Ricketts' herd of 17 white bison thrive at Jackson Fork Ranch in Wyoming's Upper Hoback Valley. Cowboy State Daily's Kate Meadows reports that to Ricketts, the white bison represents a piece of American West history, a spiritual connection to the land, and a feature he's proud to share with guests.
So it started with 4 white bison, and his ranch manager is very careful to keep the herd genetically clean. he's looking at the pregnant females, and they will more than likely sell the bulls because there's only one bull, which the manager calls, the dad of them all. So they only have one bull who's kind of fathering these babies. And when the herd gets too big, then the manager will sell them off so that the herd stays relatively small and genetically clean.
Ricketts founded TD Ameritrade, and his family co-owns the Chicago Cubs baseball team. When a police officer ran into some playground equipment while trying to catch a suspected impaired driver in a Riverton foot chase on New Year's Eve, a local man sprang into action. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland reports that the man retrieved his rope and lassoed the suspect himself.
The way he put it, the roper was kind of watching a different operation where his grandmother was being picked up by an ambulance. When the suspected drunk driver tore into the neighborhood and Officer Casey Tadewald of Lander PD got out of his car when the chase proceeded on foot, and Tadewald gets taken out by a swing set. And so the roper, that the guy that's watching his grandma, is like, oh, that is too bad that happened to this officer. I'm going to get my rope. And he does. And then he lassos the suspect for the police.
The roper, whose identity Cowboy State Daily ascertained from social media exchanges, did not respond by publication time to a message request for comment, but law enforcement did thank him on scene for his quick reaction and roping skills. I'll be back with more news from the Cowboy State Daily News Center right after this. WYDOT wants to remind you, with ice and snow, take it slow. Pay attention to reduced speed limits and use low beam and hazard lights in areas of fog and blowing snow. This message from the Wyoming Department of Transportation.
The Wyoming way of life. There's nothing like it, and no financial partner like your local cooperative credit union to help you live life the way you want to. We help you save for a brighter future, borrow for your dream home, start your small business. We've got your finances. And you've got plans, so go ahead, pitch a tent, head for the rodeo, reel in a big trout, fire up the smoker. Wyoming's credit unions are here to stay and here for you.
Cowboy State Daily News continues now. Wyoming issued a new pro rodeo license plate on Friday in response to PETA asking for a plate without the iconic bucking bronco, claiming that rodeo is cruel. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland reports that one state legislator says PETA's request made him want to celebrate rodeo even more prominently.
PETA in the summer of 2024 wanted to confront a Wyoming law that says that the bucking horse and rider needs to be on all of our license plates. And they were like, let's change this law so that people have options that don't include what they called cruelty to animals. And in response, Senator Brian Boner and some others actually went the other direction and created a specialty plate with a more vivid image of the iconic steamboat saddle bronc being ridden. And a portion of the proceeds from those plates are to go to support rodeo programs in colleges throughout the state.
WYDOT unveiled the plate last Wednesday alongside another specialty plate to promote search and rescue programs. When Leonard Nimoy flew to Yellowstone in August 1978 to shoot a scene from Star Trek the Motion Picture, Mammoth Hot Springs hotel worker Eric Austinson got the job of being Spock's chauffeur. Cowboy State Daily's Andrew Rossi reports that Austinson recalls it being a surreal experience.
Eric was working behind the desk of the Mammoth Hot Springs Hotel, just a fresh out of college kid, nothing better to do. But then when he drove up to pick up the Paramount crew in a rental car, and then Mr. Spock, in full Mr. Spock getup, jumped into the back of his car, Eric likes to say that he got to take Mr. Spock to work one day.
When the Star Trek television series got the green light for a full-length motion picture, creator Gene Roddenberry and the production team wanted to make a big impression with an on-location shoot, and they quickly realized that no place on Earth seems like it should be on another planet more than Yellowstone National Park. And that's today's news. Get your free digital subscription to Wyoming's only statewide newspaper by hitting that daily newsletter button at cowboystatedaily.com. I'm Mac Watson for Cowboy State Daily.
I did cheerleading through high school. I went to the Colts cheerleading and I loved it. I was about to go to work and my arm went numb on me. I knew I couldn't speak and I collapsed.
After 36 hours, Tessa's worried family and friends called police, who found her on the floor after suffering a stroke.
For 2 days, I was unconscious. I don't remember anything.
Thanks to the American Heart Association's support of life-saving research and medical breakthroughs, Tessa got her life back.
I don't have a limp anymore, and I am so encouraged because I can speak now.
To learn more about how the American Heart Association is saving lives, go to helpheart.org.
Hey, so good to have you along. Cowboy State Daily Show with Jake. Brianna says it's the Coda Mundi. If I'm pronouncing that correctly, that's the raccoon I'm trying to think of that's not from around here. Coda Mundi. They got a couple of them over at the Broken Bandit. Susie says she loves 4 hearts. She hearts Broken Bandit 5 times. Sorry, 5. Me too. I'll see your 5 hearts and up you another. I heart Broken Bandit 6 times. I love what Trish is doing over there, taking in these critters. I got 2 raccoons that visit regularly. She can go ahead and have those. I forgot to ask her whether raccoons hibernate for the winter, because I don't see these 2 raccoons. I got regular porch bandits. And when I say porch bandits, I don't mean the kind that are grabbing your Amazon package from your doorstep. I mean these two trash pandas. And I gotta say, man, they are not at all conscious. Well, maybe they are, or they're not self-conscious, or they're not, what am I trying to say? Use your words, Jake. They are borderline indignant when I catch them stealing food from the porch. And they just look at me like I'm a great interruption to their operation. And at this one particular fat raccoon, and I don't mean to body shame this little mass bandit, but he's not so little. I mean, he's made a good living out of what he can find in the neighborhood. And I have this half feral barn cat that chooses to live with me. And every once in a while, I'll catch the whole mess of them out on the front porch. 2 raccoons. There was one morning where I had the whole Dr. Dolittle zoo going on right outside the window, right outside the studio. I had Barn Cat sitting up on the porch railing, and he was staring at the 2 raccoons, trying to figure out if they were friend or foe. The raccoons were looking back at the cat, not worried at all that the cat posed a threat. In fact, both raccoons easily outweighed the cat. And then there were 4 mule deer that like to hang around here, and they were looking they steal food from the chickadees, which were also out there. So I got a row of chickadees eating bird seed and peanuts. I got the mule deer trying to get in on that. And meanwhile, the 2 raccoons had gone straight to the source where I keep the bird feed and had broke into the containers and were eating it hand over fist. And this whole zoo was playing out while I was on the air one day. This was back over the summer. It was all going on, typical day out on the porch. And I don't begrudge the raccoons. I mean, I just wish they were a little less intrusive about, their handouts. Hey, I'm more than happy to share the wealth, throw you a bone every now and then, but not when you go steal. And they take these, if you've ever seen these ammo containers, they're ammunition lockers, they're ammunition crates. They're not insignificant. Like when you latch them shut, they're pretty airtight and they're not real easy to get into, but these raccoons make short work of them. They open them no problem. And when they have trouble opening them, they simply drag them away to where their activity can't be discovered. Sometimes they, instead of opening them right on the porch where I might step out and say, hey, what are you doing? They drag them away to a secret location. I'll find these things like 20 feet away under the porch where they've been working on it. And yeah, they got clever little hands. It's raccoons, man. So if you need 2 more over there at the Broken Bandit facility, I got 2 for you. You can have them. Mac Watson will be on shortly, and we'll talk more about the military strike on Venezuela that resulted in the capture of a dictator president and his wife, Celia Flores. That's her name. I've been looking for her name. Obviously, Nicolas Maduro is in U.S. custody in New York. In fact, this morning will be facing charges officially. Democrats complained about the operation from Chuck Schumer on down to state level Democrat Party, all saying that the operation was illegal, did not involve Congress, was unjust. Most Democrats agreed that Maduro, bad guy, yet the U.S. and President Trump was wrong in the way they went about taking him out of Venezuela. President Trump, meanwhile, said, we're going to run things in the Latin American country until it smooths out. I think he invited the VP, the next in charge under Maduro, a chance to run the country if she did the right thing. This would be this is Ms. Rodriguez, who I don't know if we can count on Delcy Rodriguez to play the game for America and do the U.S. bidding. Rodriguez showed little public interest in adhering to Trump's suggestions that, quote, if she doesn't do what's right, she is going to pay a very big price, probably bigger than Maduro. Trump said this in a phone interview with The Atlantic early this morning. Delcy Rodriguez, President Trump said that it's Delcy's country to run if she does it right, whatever that means. Meanwhile, Delcy Rodriguez said, quote, what is being done to Venezuela is a barbarity. And she asserted that Maduro is still the Venezuela's head of state. So I'm not sure Delcy's playing ball, at least not yet. Is the raid to do about oil? Venezuela is one of the top oil producers in the world. I think ranked number 2 if they pumped at potential. The problem is they don't really export oil to the degree they could. And what I think they export goes right to Russia and China. Venezuela does not play friendly with the U.S. as far as crude oil. Meanwhile, the export that the United States was more concerned about, according to President Trump, is the illegal drugs. And that's why President Trump said he had to take action, not involve Congress, and simply swoop in the dead of night and quit this fentanyl, meth, everything else that comes out of Venezuela. Even the Democrats agree Maduro is dirty. He is a bad guy. He is behind drugs getting into the United States. But how do you deal with that? Trump's idea to deal with it. We know what happened over the weekend. Here's what President Trump, more from his impromptu presser. This is from Mar-a-Lago Live, the president, just hours after the operation. And here's what President Trump had to say regarding that.
The illegitimate dictator Maduro was the kingpin of a vast criminal network responsible for trafficking colossal amounts of deadly and illicit drugs into the United States. As alleged in the indictment, he personally oversaw the vicious cartel known as Cartel de las Solas, which flooded our nation with lethal poison, responsible for the deaths of countless Americans, many, many Americans. Hundreds of thousands over the years of Americans died because of him. Maduro and his wife will soon face the full might of American justice and stand trial on American soil.
Well, Maduro and wife face the full military might, or at least a taste of the military might of the U.S. President Trump described the operation and Operation Rain Down Terror on Caracas. Here's what the president had to say about the U.S. military invasion of Venezuela.
Late last night, it was a force against a heavily fortified military fortress in the heart of Caracas to bring outlaw dictator Nicolas Maduro to justice. This was one of the most stunning, effective, and powerful displays of American military might and competence in American history. Not a single American service member was killed, and not a single piece of American equipment was lost. We had many helicopters, many planes, many people involved in that fight. But think of that, not one piece of military equipment was lost, not one service member was, more importantly, killed. The United States military is the strongest and most fearsome military on the planet by far. With capabilities and skills our enemies can scarcely begin to imagine. We have the best equipment anywhere in the world.
Yeah, and what now? What do we do moving forward? How does Venezuela move forward into the future? President Trump said, for the time being, we're going to run it, meaning the U.S., with perhaps involvement from Delcy Rodriguez, but that remains to be seen. Here's what Trump had to say about the future for the country, Venezuela.
We're going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. So we don't want to be involved with having somebody else get in, and we have the same situation that we had for the last long period of years. So we are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. And it has to be judicious. And what people don't understand, but they understand as I say this, we're there now, but we're going to stay until such time as the proper transition can take place. So we're going to stay until such time as we're going to run it, essentially, until such time as a proper transition can take place.
And what does that transition look like? Already seeing reports in mainstream media that Venezuela is still under control. The people who have the people with the most guns. That's who runs Venezuela. With the absence of Maduro, it's business as usual. The guns prevail. Meanwhile, the vice president, the first next man up, so to speak, under President Maduro, is the vice president. And I'm not sure what we can expect of her running the country. Delcy Rodriguez, she condemned the operation by Trump and assures that Maduro is still the one that holds power in Venezuela. Meanwhile, Maduro and his wife are in New York City area facing charges. Even this morning, they'll make their first court appearance. Let's take a quick break. We'll get right back here with Mac Watson and discuss the news of the weekend.
Welcome to The Jake Show on Cowboy State Daily, Wyoming's daily dose of raw, unfiltered, and occasionally uncomfortable truth.
I don't do talking points. I do reality.
No spin, no fluff, just Jake. Local issues, national nonsense, and zero BS. It's truth, sarcasm, and grit, shaken, not stirred.
I just call it like I see it, and I see a lot of Let's just say I see a lot.
From the capital to the county fair, if it matters to Wyoming, Jake's got something to say, and he's not asking permission.
The West was built by people who weren't afraid to speak up. I'm just keeping the tradition alive.
The Jake Show, weekdays on CowboyStateDaily.com and wherever you get your dose of reality.
Not for the easily rattled, perfect for everyone else.
This is the Cowboy State Daily Radio Network.
Nestled between Casper Mountain and the North Platte River, you'll find the heart of Wyoming. With a bustling downtown centered around our outdoor haven, Casper is for adventurers, freedom seekers, and rule breakers who find beauty off the beaten path. So if touchable history, a vibrant community, and uninterrupted outdoor recreation define your travel itinerary, allow us to welcome you to the one and only Casper, Wyoming. Plan your trip at visitcasper.com.
Oh, right. Look at you taking the stairs. Who are you?
We're your lungs. We are proud of you for quitting smoking, but you still may be at risk for lung cancer.
A routine cancer scan can detect it early when it's more curable. Good to know. Well, I gotta go somewhere.
So do we.
Listen to your lungs. Get a routine screening that could save your life. Talk to your doctor and learn more at savedbythescan.org.
I think I finally found.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, Mason.
Hey, Mason.
Got a new house. It's looking pretty cool so far. A place that I call home.
I'm teaching Louise how to cook some lasagna.
It only takes a spark to make a fire start.
Thank you.
Study, please.
I think I finally found a place to make my own. A place that I call home. This place that I call home.
Cowboy State Daily Show on a Monday. Mac Watson joins us. Mac, it was weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks, I had a special guest on that talked about what was going on down there in Venezuela and how it was more than just drones shooting at a few boats that might have been carrying drugs. Like, no, this was bigger. In fact, we both agreed it was kind of a soft war on Venezuela. A change in regime was the end plan, and called it 2 weeks ago on the show. Already called it.
2 weeks ago. Okay.
I'm telling you, man, I saw it coming. And by the way, we will have special guests on tomorrow, perhaps as late as Wednesday, but this week soon, another special guest who is uniquely qualified to talk about what's going on down there. He's an award-winning journalist, got a new book out. Bill Conroy is going to be with us this week. He's covered Central America as a journalist. His book, The Great Pretense, a tour through the boneyard of the CIA's war for drugs. He is on this. He's been on it, and we can't wait to get him on the show here.
That's great.
Hopefully tomorrow. Yeah, that was where were you when you heard this news? Like, this is shocking news. I couldn't believe it, even though
unfortunately, I came to the party late. I didn't turn on TV. I didn't check my phone. I was like knee deep in the middle of a project. And I just happened to get a text from my wife. And she said, "Did you hear the crazy blank that happened last night?" Or no, that happened or was announced this morning. And so I was like, no, I'm not really sure. And then I was glued to the television for, a couple of hours watching all the cable news outlets of what physically happened, okay? What will happen, what should happen, what could happen, and why did it happen? And there are many different, and I mean, I watched the press conference. I saw what the president said. Anytime you have a vacuum in power, I don't care if it's at a company, I don't care if it's a daycare center, I don't care if it's, I don't care where it is. Anything can happen. Now, that can be positive or it can be negative. And we have seen before, I mean, Jake, you and I are old enough to remember maybe our dads or our grandfathers who served in prior wars and what it takes to rebuild countries. And we don't have a good track record with that.
No.
We really don't. I mean, Japan and Germany, in my mind, are the last two that we were truly successful at rebuilding and not having people hate us, come after us. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen in Venezuela, but my point is you can go in and you can plan and you can plan and you can plan all you want, right? But we have seen a number of times how stuff can go sideways real quick. So, I mean, I like this president because he is willing to do stuff no other presidents will do. He is willing to take chances, the will of Congress be damned. I'm going to do what I need to do. And Maduro made a fool out of the Biden administration. He made a fool out of the Venezuelan people with elections for years. This is nothing. This is not some personal beef between Donald Trump and Nick Maduro, right? This has been going on for decades. But I got to tell you, from the indications that I've seen and the people that have come on the talk shows and stuff like that, you better have a plan. Oh my God, you better have a plan. And it's not as simple as, I always comparing it to buying a house, right? Okay, so let's say we take somebody out of power. Let's say Iraq, right? Okay, so we take Saddam Hussein out of power. We go into this new house. Oh, did we get an inspection? Well, we kind of sort of knew that maybe the electrical needed fixing up, or maybe the boiler needed worked on or whatever. But you can get into these places and, oh my God, there's black mold. It is unsalvageable. And that's what I worry about. Not that Venezuela is Iraq or a Middle Eastern country, but that we get in there and we're like, this is a money pit. Are you serious? We can't, there are some homes that you might as well just tear to the ground and rebuild. Well, do we have the time? Do we have the infrastructure? Do we have the knowledge? Do we have the people willing to do that? So I appreciate that this president goes in and does stuff that no other president's willing to do. But there's no guarantee that this is going to turn out the way they want. Like your dream home. This is not, your dream home can be turning into a nightmare very quickly. And so I'm crossing my fingers. I'm cautiously optimistic.
There's lack of a clear-cut game plan moving forward. I think President Trump's idea that it might be VP Delcy Rodriguez, I don't see that coming together. She doesn't seem to be opposition. She seems to be in lockstep with Maduro. Usually when you see a topple, deposing a leader and a regime change, there's an idea, there's an opposite party ready to go. In this case, I don't know who's stepping in. And as Trump said,
well, somebody was elected. Somebody was overwhelmingly elected, but Maduro said, no. I don't think that's right. But you don't hear Trump talking about them.
Yeah.
So what's the hesitancy here? What are we going to do? And what I think is fascinating too is why. Why would you do this? Well, obviously Maduro is corrupt. Obviously Maduro is a bad person. Obviously Maduro is running a dictatorship. But there are those who also say this is a clear finger in the eye to China, because for decades now, ever since they nationalized the oil fields in Venezuela, Venezuelan leadership has given great deals to Iran, China, and Russia with oil. And Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, said it yesterday on Face the Nation, who, by the way, is horrible. Margaret Brennan needs to go. I cannot stand. She's such a lightweight. Anyway, I'm a little jealous because I wanted to take over Face the Nation or Meet the Press when I was a kid, and it just didn't happen. Anyway, the point is, God, I miss Tim Russert. The point is that Marco Rubio said, "Hey, this isn't the Middle East. This isn't the Far East. This isn't Asia. This is the West, or like the Western Hemisphere. We get to tell people what they're doing," kind of thing. Yeah, okay. So to me, that's a clear sign that China, sorry, you're not getting oil. Iran, sorry, you want oil, you're going to pay for it like everybody else. No more freebies and no back deals. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's what I think is the end game. The drugs is one thing, but it's like a bait and switch. I mean, you're attacking the drugs, but really the intent is, in the end, the whole oil thing. Tim Russert was on this show, by the way, a few months ago. Yeah, we've had only the best, including you, Mac. I mean, you know, we're only going up. So, all right, end game, where Venezuela is headed now, and the void, and this whole idea that America, the U.S. can run Venezuela from here. Geez, I don't like anything to do with that. But let's talk about the operation itself, Mac. Even Democrats are saying Maduro was a bad guy. No doubt about it. But how do you have any great heartburn with the bypass, the end run around Congress? Trump's not the first president to do that. When you need to move quickly and covertly, you can't involve Congress. And we've seen Congress can't even run the finances of the American government. So I don't mind not asking for congressional approval. That would have taken, I don't know, never.
Right. And he may not have gotten it, but the basis of which this is all going on is an imminent threat. How do you justify an imminent threat with a guy who's a dictator, who is, yes, sending drugs to America, yes, making America look bad? I mean, Biden signed some kind of treaty with the guy, and the guy basically tore it up in his face after he signed it. But what is an imminent threat? You know, we may not see boots, on our shores of an invasion. We may not see some kind of cyber attack from Venezuela, but over the decades and decades of narco, I hate to use that term, narco terrorist, because, but my point is Lyndon Johnson declared a war on drugs. How's that going? Lyndon Johnson declared a war on drugs, and we've never won. I mean, this goes back decades and decades. So it may not be, oh my goodness, look at all those airplanes that are going to bomb us into oblivion, imminent threat. But the imminent threat is every day that you may never see, because, drug smugglers are going in, different ways of getting drugs into the United States. So does that constitute an imminent threat? I don't know. But again, I give the president credit for going in and doing something, at least doing something about it.
Yeah. I mean, if imminent threat is the next fentanyl overdose in the United States, and that's been ongoing. So under that premise, Trump felt like it was okay to strike. Whether the end game is oil or not, we'll see. But go back to what you were talking about, though, of the military operation. No casualty. I think one guy got in smoothly. I think, but no equipment lost, no loss of life. We went in. We got somebody we needed to get within. I mean, it was within minutes too. And this guy lived on a base.
He lived on a military base.
Yeah,
went in, got him, and got out. So
I was
well
kind of
done.
surprised about how smooth that went. With supposed Russian equipment, Russian technology, as far as the anti-aircraft, that was overcome very quickly, very easily, and extracted Maduro and his wife like bam, no shots fired, so to speak. That's
and no
amazing.
equipment lost. So thank goodness.
Yeah, and so I don't know. On one end, you've got Democrats from Chuck Schumer on down to the state Democratic Party saying this operation was illegal. The bypass of Congress was wrong.
Yeah. But Chuck Schumer also said. Chuck Schumer also said back in 2020, along with Kamala Harris, this guy needs to go.
Yes,
there needs to be regime change in Venezuela. So sit down.
Yeah.
Sit down, be quiet. I don't want to hear it.
Schumer's quote in 2020 was, the president brags, this was during Trump's first run, the president brags about his Venezuela policy. Give us a break. He hasn't brought an end to the Maduro regime. Well, he just did.
He just did.
Now he did. So
here's a bunch of crow, dude.
Sit down, Chuck. Meanwhile, there is concern over, is the U.S. the worldwide police? What involvement, what justification do we have to go in and do that? I don't know. That'll play out.
That's a great discussion. And I had that discussion kind of with my daughter because my daughter's like, well, wait a minute. Why do we go in?
And not the UN or, whatever.
Or Colombia, or a neighbor, If you got a problem with your neighbor, go down the street, knock on the door. Why do you have to call somebody from, across town to come over and take care of the situation? I said, well, it all goes back to a number of things, a number of incidents, and basically World War II, because we became the de facto, I don't want to say enforcer because it makes it sound like we work for the mob, but we became the military leader after World War II, that people looked at us and said, hey, those guys aren't being very nice. Can you do something about it? So it's kind of like we inherited this position after World War II, and thank goodness we can produce, we can back that up. But even my daughter was like, well, why are we doing this? Well, we're the biggest, baddest country on the planet. So.
Yeah, I mean, the world needs a moral compass, and those of us in the U.S. are going to say that's us, but in another country, they may think otherwise. And then you need military might to back up the moral compass. That's supposedly the UN. But in this case, it's an operation that had to be done in the middle of the night and had to be done fast.
Oh, yeah.
So nobody knew until it was over. And I don't know.
And we got the guy.
We got the guy.
We got the mission was complete.
Yeah.
Congress saying, well, we should have been consulted. We should have been asked. Again, I don't know how far you want to go down this road, but there are some situations where I would much rather ask for forgiveness than permission. And you know what I mean? Yes. If God forbid, something was happening with my son and my daughter was at home with him and she didn't ask us to take the car to the hospital, I get it. When you have these certain situations, it is much better to ask for forgiveness than permission.
And the same thing's been done previously. Trump's not the first one to invent this. Democrat presidents have also exercised presidential authority to make these decisions, bypassing Congress. It's been done.
You remember when? My goodness, do you remember a number of years ago when Obama actually announced we got Bin Laden?
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember anybody knocking on doors going, hey, do you mind if we do this? Hey, do you mind if we go to... I don't remember anybody complaining about that.
Yeah, good point, Mac. So let's see. You want to talk a little... I do want to get to stories over the weekend from Cowboy State Daily. There were some that were just incredible. But first, let's recap the weekend in sports. Anything jump out at you? I was just bored silly with some of the games because nobody played their star players, like the Bills-Jets game. Ugh, that was dreadful, and I'm a Bills fan. Yuck.
Yeah. The Raiders who I think are second in the draft next year or this year.
Well, now are they
picking first or second?
I think they're picking first now.
Oh, they picking first?
Yeah, because
the Raiders beat the Chiefs. What? And I mean, not just by like 2 points.
Yeah.
They beat the Chiefs. Now, I know the Chiefs are down to like some guy from the sandwich shop being their quarterback. But
yeah, the backup got hurt too.
Right.
Like
Minshew.
Yeah,
Gardner Minshew got hurt. Patrick Mahomes is hurt. But I mean, I think Pete Carroll will still lose his job. I think the Raiders were so awful and expectations were so high that I think Pete Carroll, they're going to move on from Pete Carroll. One coach has already been fired. He was fired Sunday night, the Atlanta Falcons.
Oh.
Raheem Morris was let go. And you know where I'm from. That Ravens game is just Lamar Jackson showed brilliance in the fourth quarter. But the last time he showed that kind of brilliance was at the beginning of the season. I don't want to move on from Lamar Jackson, but I think you have to. I think John Harbaugh's, I think his gig is safe. But the Steelers are the rivals of the Baltimore Ravens. You go into that game with a ground and pound mentality. 6-3 is not uncommon. 9-7 is not uncommon. And yet, in the fourth quarter, suddenly the Steelers come alive, then the Ravens come alive, and then the kick, the field goal for the Steelers was missed. And then the rookie kicker from Arizona missed and was crying going into the locker room. He was so upset. Harbaugh had to escort him into the locker room.
And that could
I mean, it just and we lost by 2 points. We lost by a field goal. And so we're out of the playoffs. The Steelers move forward. They're going to go into the playoffs. We're out of the playoffs once again.
It could have been a priestly incantation pregame. I saw that. The priest was
Yeah.
I don't know how that kicker missed. I heard big.
And the one before that. I mean, something was either going on with the wind or something that the last two kicks, like you say, was it divine intervention that they were up and they just suddenly go that way? Come on.
I know. Well, it will be the Raiders securing that first pick. New York Jets will have the second pick. They looked
I thought it was the Jets.
Dreadful against the Bills. The Giants, if they tanked it, were in the running for the first pick, but they accidentally beat the Dallas Cowboys, which other teams have done this season, accidentally beat the Cowboys. There's going to be changes in Dallas as well, I think.
Very true.
Ooh.
There should be changes in Arizona.
Yeah.
That was god-awful.
Yep.
Again, like the Lamar Jackson situation with the Ravens, Kyler Murray just ain't getting it done. I'm sorry. Maybe he goes to the Raiders. I don't know. Maybe he goes somewhere else. But remember the Cardinals were actually really good about, what was it? 9 seasons ago? It wasn't that long ago. You had Kurt Warner, you had Larry Fitzgerald, Calais Campbell. You had these great players, and they just go back, they backslide down, and they've done that for the past number of seasons, and that's just it's just a shame because there's a lot of good players coming out of Arizona, or I should say playing for Arizona, and they just can't get it together. The Seahawks are back. That kind of surprised me. That took me by surprise. And the Jaguars look dominant. We could see the Jags in the Super Bowl.
Hold on. They play Buffalo first round, so that's not going to happen.
I know, but remember what we've said about Buffalo. Why cannot they just take control of the game and just obliterate everybody? I don't know. Am I crossing my fingers for you? Hell yeah. Am I rooting for Josh Allen? Absolutely. But each game, you're kind of like, wait a minute. Oh, okay, they won. Okay. They're not dominant. They don't march like good teams do.
I still think, even though the new NFL with, if you look at a guy wrong in pass coverage, it's a PI, pass interference. The new NFL, which just promotes offense, I think it's still defense that wins. Look at the teams that have built. Arizona didn't have a great defense. They had all these offensive weapons. Right. Where did they go? Seattle now has emerged on the strength of their defense.
I remember they had the Legion of Boom when they were winning Super Bowls. Remember?
Yeah, I mean, I think defense still, the Chiefs ignore their defense to their own peril.
Yes.
It's defense that's going to win, definitely in the postseason.
And that's what made the Steelers so good. That's what made the Ravens so good.
Yeah.
Was their defense. Absolutely. And the Patriots.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about Tom Brady all you want, but they had a pretty good defense to get them through every game.
Which Vrabel has brought back. I know it's Drake May this, Drake May that, but it's that defense. New England's defense, very good. Defense.
Hey, let me ask you, does Bill Belichick leave North Carolina and go to Atlanta? Does he go to the Falcons?
Only if Atlanta wants his girlfriend too, because apparently she's part of the deal. She's running in UNC, but I think he might. And could he waive the buyout? Because I don't think UNC is going to buy his contract. They've already spent enough money getting him there. Right. I don't think they're going to spend money telling him to take a hike. I think somehow he's going to have a lawyer strike that if he wants to get back in the NFL in Atlanta. I think he would. I think he had a miserable season. He hated it. The UNC fans everybody hated it. So I think it's best to part ways. It's all come down to money. How do you do that?
Yeah, well, I think you're right. I think you get in there with a lawyer and you just say, I rescind that part of my contract.
I'll leave.
I don't want this amount of money. I just want out, kind of thing.
Maybe.
And then if he goes to Atlanta, can he revive his career? Because now it's legacy, right? He's not a young guy. He's not a Sean McVay. He's in his 70s. He's like Pete Carroll. When you go back, it's like my dad always said, because my dad was in banking for like 30 years. And then he finally said, you know what, I'm done. And other banks would come after him and, do you want to do this or can you help us with this? And he'd be like, yeah, I can do it on a consultant basis, but I'm not doing it full time. You got to know when to leave the party. You've got to know when to say, okay, I'm done. And so if he goes to Atlanta and tanks Atlanta worse than they have been, and I feel sorry for Atlanta, I really do. You got Kirk Cousins, who's good. I mean, he's proven that he's, a good quarterback. They took Michael Penix as Kirk Cousins' replacement. Is he going to work out? I'm not really sure. I don't really. The prognostications have not come true for Michael Penix. And then if you bring in Bill Belichick, does that help or does that hinder? Because I don't know whether Kirk Cousins wants to play for Belichick. I'm not saying I heard anything. I'm not saying I know his mentality. But I know there are certain players that, under their breath, I'm not playing for that guy. Why? I don't want to play for that guy. It's a new NFL. It ain't the Belichick era anymore.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things he did well and he's still good at is game planning for the next team. I'm not sure that really shined at the collegiate level, but when Belichick prepares for you, he knows everything you do and he takes it away from you. That's how he's always coached.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah. So, all right. I want to take a quick break. I want to come back with that tragic story Zach had about the Bradshaw girl in Lyman. Oh, man. And I want to talk about what happens when you forget about your trail cam in a bear cave for 10 years.
10 years,
oh, man. Other Cowboy State Daily stories over the weekend you might have missed. We'll recap. Can you hang out, Mac?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I will.
Nice.
Of course I will, man. Sure.
We'll
Absolutely.
be right back.
Oh, look, another national expert explaining Wyoming. Bless their hearts. Look, don't rely on national experts. We do it all ourselves at Cowboy State Daily Radio. Real news for real Wyomingites who actually live here. We tell it like it is, with headlines that hit harder than a spring blizzard and commentary that cuts through all the bull. Cowboy State Daily Radio. It's Wyoming news. No filter, no fluff, no kidding.
You're listening to the Cowboy State Daily Radio Network.
Wyoming is a place of unlimited potential, a place that inspires us to dream. Since 2014, Wyer Lotto has given back over $180 million to our great state through transfers, winnings, commissions, and more. Dollars that have gone directly into your cities, towns, and counties. Dollars that have changed lives and set dreams in motion. Thank you, Wyoming, for a legendary 10 years. We can't wait to dream up what's next.
Might not see it coming. It's prediabetes, and it captures 1 in 3 adults. You may not even know you have it, but you can escape. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test to know where you stand. With early diagnosis, you can change the outcome and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Be your own hero on smartphones everywhere at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Whether it's our stories, the warmth of our laugh, or our family's secret sauce, we all bring something different to the table. So make some space. The power of connection is waiting right outside your comfort zone. Learn how you can help strengthen your community at belongingbeginswithus.org/teamup.
Let's get back to it on a Monday. Cowboy State Daily Show with Jake. Mac Watson is with us as we wrap up this morning's show, getting close to the finish line. Mac, this is a father's worst nightmare. The bad boyfriend.
But I will, let me stop you right there for a moment. Yes, what happened in Lyman is horrific. But it was very different. I talked to Zach Sontag, who wrote the story. These two knew each other from elementary school. They used to ride the bus. The families knew each other. It's not like this was a bad boy from the wrong side of town that caught this girl's eye and corrupted her, and then she wanted nothing to do with him, and he was just a lowlife or what. He was a good guy for every indication. Every indication from the people that knew both of them, good guy, but ultimately could not let her go because they dated through high school, and he would bring her flowers and he would leave, nice notes. I mean, he was a good, decent guy, but then I guess she wanted to move on, and ultimately he couldn't handle that. And that, like you said, the dad's worst nightmare of, Dad, I need your help. He gets there in 4 minutes, and as he gets to the door, knocks on the door, he hears the shots. He got into the home, and they were both still alive.
Yeah.
They were both still alive.
He raced to the home. He's just a minute or two late. We're talking about James Hunter. That's the ex-boyfriend who shot Macy and then himself, presumably. That's the only scenario. I'm sure law enforcement can figure out what happened. But yeah, you're right, James Hunter. This wasn't a wrong side of the tracks. This guy, originally the relationship was good, healthy, long-term. Yeah. And James Hunter just went through a deterioration of his own mental condition. To the point where red flags were there. She would bring him over to the home, and he would wait out in the car. He wouldn't come in the house. That is not a good sign. Right. And Macy was scared of him. She was trying to break it off, and she's like, he's going to come over and
do something. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew a buddy of mine who started dating a girl in middle school, high school. They got married. And by the time she was like 25, 26, said, I've changed. I don't want to be married anymore. He was devastated. I mean, that was their first love, that first love. And we love those stories, high school sweethearts, or we met as kids kind of thing. He never really recovered. He's never been the same since losing that love. Now, I'm not trying to justify anything or any kind of behavior. Don't get me wrong, but it just rips your heart out to hear how these two people found each other, fell in love, and did pretty well. But then one changed, and now tragedy. And out of it, they've started I think a 501c3 or a charity called A New Dawn that is going to help young women, girls, that kind of thing. And good luck to them. You never want to hear this is started because of a tragedy, but good luck to them. I wish them nothing but the best in helping other people that may be in that situation. But it's just, you're right, it's absolutely horrific. But when Zach was telling me how they met, I'm like, oh my God, that's out of a movie. That's out of a movie script, but it ended so horribly.
Ended also in a movie script, not the kind that I'm sure the Bradshaws envisioned. Yeah, you do. Personally, you do change a lot in your 20s. What happens when you're in a relationship? One changes, one not so much. Yeah.
It's hard.
It's hard.
It really is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, relationships are hard to begin with, but I try to tell this to my daughter. You can date anybody, but don't fall under this illusion of, well, I've met the one. That is something Hallmark made up. You know what I mean? That is something that is in romance novels. You go through a lot, high school, college, after high school. In your 20s, as you said, you change. Your priorities change, you shift, you become more involved in other things. It's tough. It really is. So, the people that get married 20, 21, 23, 25 years old, hey, I've got nothing but respect if you can make it work. I really do, because you change so much. I remember my my college girlfriend broke up with me. I was a year out of college. She still had 1 year, and she broke up with me because she wanted to get married. She had to get married. She had to be married or at least engaged by the time she graduated. I'm like, I don't even have a job. I mean, I was driving a truck. I couldn't even get a good job. But she met somebody at work that she worked with at the, I don't know if you remember Friendly's. Do you remember Friendly's?
Oh, yeah.
She worked at Friendly's. And so she married this guy. She met this guy. He went to law school, blah, blah, blah. They got married. They had like 3 kids. And then they got divorced because he changed in his 40s. So, I'm just saying. It's not sour grapes. I'm just saying I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to get married until I was in my 30s. And even then I wasn't sure. You know what I mean? So it's really tough. It really, you can't put I think you can kind of sort of know what you want, but don't blueprint your life because somebody else did it that way. Well, all my girlfriends are engaged. All my girlfriends are and I'm telling you, man, that's a real thing. That after college, when your girlfriends are starting to get married and you go to these weddings and you're the bridesmaid, you get caught up in all that. Ugh.
It's a thing.
It is, man. It is. It's a phenomenon.
Mark Hines' story about Casey Anderson. He dropped a couple of cameras in grizzly bear den and then forgot about them. 10 years later, he'd be surprised at what he found.
They still work. The SD cards still work.
So cool. He's got 10 years worth of grizzly bear den activity. It's pretty cool. We got the video. We got the story. Mark Hines, check it out. We're out of time. We got to bounce. Thank you, Mac.
Thank you.
That's going to do it for us at the Cowboy State Daily Show.
Good morning. This is the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show with Jake. The new way Wyoming wakes up.